Leicester, feeling cold with highs of 7 to 10 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, you're welcome back to Saturday's Off the Ball. Nathan with you till 5 o'clock. Time for Saturday afternoon football. Johnny Ward and Dan McDonnell. All the guys back together again. It's a thing of beauty.
Been a while.
Johnny's been busy. I sometimes feel like we're not your first priority of a Saturday afternoon, Johnny.
I think someone forgets he's meant to be here.
I was in Tbilisi, which is fair enough. I was at a good friend's wedding, and I can't remember my excuse for the previous weekend.
Okay.
But I had
another wedding or a trip to Cannes or something.
No, well, because quite often myself and Johnny end up in here on a Thursday, and I'll say, "Oh, you're round on Saturday," and go, "Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think so." No, as if this is the first time he's considered the fact that maybe
It's not mandatory, I suppose.
Well, it is mandatory. Actually, it's very much mandatory. It's very much mandatory.
Nathan, you must be quaking in your boots that Richard Cooper is going to do you anytime soon. He's going through the stable at the moment.
No, I'm. You see, I'm unimpressionable.
Unimpressionable.
Is that an insult to myself right there?
No. Probably means you're a bit multi-dimensional, maybe. You can't just hook in on one.
Exactly. There's just so much going on.
I was on with Jerry yesterday, and I'm just finding it hard to divorce Jerry from the impression of him now.
It is good. The first time I saw it, I was like, I'm not sure. I was like, is that Jer? And my wife was watching with me. She's like, oh my God, it's 100% Jer. But now, all I can think of is
scratching at the back of the neck and the headphone falling out and
just cursing randomly for the sake of it.
There's a couple of words. It's just not.
Yeah.
Owen Sheehan, on the other hand.
I think they summed up OTBM quite well. Just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. What about you, Johnny? You think you're next in line?
No, God. I mean, but I think like you'd react in the same way as Owen. I think his tweet was like, "Oh God," when you just see an impression of you that kind of goes viral or whatever. But
He's made it now.
yeah,
He has made it.
Yeah, this is a new level for him.
100%. So there's a lot to talk about. We'll chat a bit about the FAI and all that's gone on there over the last 24 hours. What do you mean, oh God? This is your bread and butter. It's literally your job.
It's there's no butter now.
it's not Kerrygold anyway.
No.
We'll chat about that. We'll talk about the day's Premier League as well. Last night, I know you were at League of Ireland, but in the Premier League there was an old 9-0.
I was disappointed.
How would you compare the Southampton defence to the UCD defence?
Well, they had the players sent off very early, hadn't they? So it's some excuse. But I was disappointed in my father because I rang him after the Shamrock Rovers game, and he started going on about the Leicester Southampton game, which showed that he watched that in preference to the Dundalk game. But
He's disowned him now.
That's the end of that. It was and I hadn't really considered this, the sort of double whammy that VAR can bring. So Ben Chilwell scored the first goal for Leicester, which was perfectly fine. But then they went back to the build-up and found the red card offence for what was most definitely a red card. It was a horrible challenge by Ryan Bertrand. So not only did the referee not blow for the free kick, so it would have been just a red card and no goal. He allowed play to continue.
He missed the tackle in effect.
I think he had seen the tackle,
Let the play out.
allowed play to continue. They get the goal, but then he went back because it was serious foul play.
That's a good VAR. As in, like, it was like.
Is it good VAR?
What was wrong with it?
VAR.
But what was wrong with it? He let the play go, but he had to send him off.
Well, if it was serious foul play, he should have stopped play immediately, given the free kick.
It's a fair point.
Dan just doesn't care. I can tell from his eyes.
I know. I haven't actually seen the incident,
Okay.
so I was.
So in the rules, he couldn't do both.
No, but clearly he could, and he did.
But then he gave the red card under a different kind of moniker, or do you know if it's a serious foul play? How can he, if he didn't give the free in the first place or didn't stop play?
Neither of us have seen this. You see, this
Okay,
you're dealing
right.
with a problem here.
I'm just going to move on.
I think we should just move past
9-0. 9-0. Stephen Kelly's going to join us in a little while as well. There's just three games in the Premier League today because there's a busy afternoon tomorrow, including Liverpool against Spurs and Newcastle against Wolves, both of which will be live here on Off the Ball. And I guess the team news is interesting because we're very much focused on the Denmark game, and going from back to front, we're either getting quite worried about certain things or a little bit calmer about certain things. So Darren Randolph is not involved for Middlesbrough. There were rumours during the week, possibly 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know what the origins of the press conference question were. Was it someone with an Irish hat on, I suppose, who asked the question, because Woodgate's answer was, may not make the next game, may not make the Ireland game. You're like, whoa, hang on, this is actually serious here. But then he...
Whatever about Middlesbrough losing again.
Like, Middlesbrough are struggling badly, so why did the Ireland game even come up? So, I mean, someone with that in mind must have asked it in a question. But, Middlesbrough would have something like probably, I don't know, maybe 4 games between now and the international break, I would have thought. So... Yeah, like Woodgate did do a later update, which was a couple of weeks, which sort of makes it a bit borderline. I think just the problem is the
backup.
We've become so reliant on Randolph. I mean, Kieran Westwood.
So Kieran Westwood hasn't been in the squad for the last few games.
No,
and has always been. I don't want to use the word flaky, but there we go.
You'd be looking at Westwood and you'd say that the message to him would have the little 2 blue WhatsApp ticks on it. You're like, he's read it, but why hasn't he replied?
And even then, if previously he's been offered the chance, and listen, Kieran Westwood's in his 30s now, and has never really been able to establish himself as first choice, and it's probably at a stage where you can almost understand it. He's decided, well, I'm going to come over for a 2-week camp, and Darren Randolph is going to be number 1, no matter what I ever do.
It's not a very professional attitude, though, is it?
Well, maybe it's not a very patriotic attitude.
No.
Maybe it's a professional attitude in terms of extending his club career. But it does mean Mick McCarthy will have a big decision, as does he go back cap in hand to Kieran Westwood and say, all right, this is your chance. This is your chance. You're back in. We need you to start. Or does he go, actually, I'm done with that, and go and rely on either Mark Travers, who's not playing football,
the third choice,
or Kieran O'Hara,
playing for Burton today against Blackpool.
So you'd imagine that O'Hara then has to be ahead of
You would have thought
Travers.
so. Yeah.
Or does he... The other option, I guess, would be to go down to Caoimhín Kelleher.
Yeah, which
Kelleher
would be
is so far off experience.
I mean, it would be a massive ask to do that. But I mean, I at the same time, it's a perfectly valid discussion point, because, there's a balance to be considered. I would have thought he would go for Westwood in most scenarios, though. Like, he did sort of. The way in which he spoke about Westwood and Harry Arthur was very much of a mind of, listen, they're humming and hawing a bit, so I've just took the decision out of their hands by leaving them out of the squad. Now, I see, interestingly, Mick McCarthy is going back to naming, having named a proper squad the last time, that's been abandoned, and we're going back to the Provo squad this time. It's been named this Tuesday. So I'm guessing there's going to be a lot more names. I could be wrong. Someone could correct me. You could get a stern text, but it's very
You're
possible.
40 players in the squad.
It's possible it could be one of these big squad names.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to. He can name Troy Parrott. He can name Ryan Manning, who he was mentioned during the week. Doesn't mean they're in the final squad. Maybe not. But
he watched Manning, didn't he?
You can. And the FAI, the FAI, quite helpfully put out a press release with quotes from Troy Parrott. Quotes from Mick McCarthy on Troy Parrott and Ryan Manning. So basically, a news story through the FAI channels suggesting that they're going to be in line for a call up. But I think he'll always probably name Westwood in that scenario. Like, maybe Randolph is just 2 weeks, but it is.
Either way, it's
a bit of a worry that
from
you
Mick
would
McCarthy's point of view, and we can be and have been critical of the way McCarthy has set up his team and the style of football and why they haven't been able to get results. He was always going to need a little bit of luck, and he's had nothing but bad luck over the last few weeks, because the one bright spot from Ireland for the first half of the campaign was you looked at the back five and thought, this is solid. These are all good quality, experienced players, from Randolph, Coleman, Duffy, Keogh, Stevens, and he's a settle back five. And now he's going into potentially the Denmark game without Randolph, possibly having played goalkeeper who's never played a competitive international before. Matt Doherty coming in at right back. Richard Keogh is gone. John Egan steps in. It's certainly not the back five he would have wanted.
It's not solid.
I don't think it's as big. You got to get on with it, though. Like, we should be able to get over these issues. I wouldn't say we haven't been. I'd say we've been quite lucky earlier on in the campaign. We barely deserved a draw in either of the games against the big two teams. We just kind of battled our way and were well outplayed. So to be where we're at,
We deserved a draw in Copenhagen.
I thought Copenhagen was a controlled, that was a team going in a way. I don't think. It wasn't really a smash grab, because Denmark went ahead fairly late in the game as well. Like, it was 0-0.
Completely dominant.
It was 0-0 for most of the game. No, but it wasn't like there's been robbery and there wasn't that. I thought actually the home game against Switzerland, I would agree completely, very fortunate. But I thought the away performance was, for a team going away, was perfectly fine. But no, it is true, and there is a friendly 4 days before it, so at least whoever his chosen goalkeeper is, I think we're jumping in the road. But in the nightmare scenario where Randolph isn't available, at least he would have a chance to play them, and suddenly that game takes on a bit more significance in terms of an understanding between that goalkeeper and players in front of him if they haven't played together before.
One of the reasons why I was saying so from Randolph back, looking at the team news today, Brighton are playing Everton. Shane Duffy isn't in the match day 18 for Brighton, and Seamus Coleman is only on the bench for Everton. Sidibe, who came in while Coleman was suspended, has kept his place at right back. Stephen Kelly is with us on the line as well this afternoon. Afternoon, Stephen.
Hey lads, as well.
You concerned, surprised in any way that Coleman didn't get back in?
Not really. Not just on the results. We were talking about it when the game was going through, and we were worried because they performed well and he'd come in and put in a good shift. And managers are, as much as they have faith in somebody, things have been not going great for Everton for a little while, and then to get a good result, the chance are he was going to stick with the same back four, the same personnel that did well from that game. So it's kind of only fair. Disappointing for Seamus, but he's been in this position before. He's going to have to fight back and hopefully, get himself back in the team.
Of that Irish back five that, say, started the campaign, was Randolph, in a way, the most important one to keep fit, considering the lack of depth that's there?
Yeah. Him and Seamus, I think. I know Doherty should come in, and it's like for like in a sense, and Matt is arguably one of the best right backs in the Premiership, so that shouldn't be an issue. But I think Seamus offers it a bit more as a captain. I know we're discussing his performance and trying to put too much on his own mantle and doing things that he shouldn't be doing because he feels the necessity to do more for the team. But I do think he's an important part of the team, and the fact he is our captain, I think it's not having him is going to be an issue. But Randolph, his performance levels and his level of consistency has given us for the last few years has been exceptional, and he's always capable of making an amazing save when we're under the cosh or he pulls something out of the bag. So if we don't have him, that will be a worry.
So problems at the back, but at the other end of the pitch it's looking a little bit better for Mick McCarthy, because Aaron Connolly starting again today for Brighton, and also Dave McGoldrick's back fit. So Sheffield United are playing West Ham. All the 3 o'clock kickoffs still scoreless. Dave McGoldrick, partnering Callum Robinson up front, has come straight back into the side in place of Lim Musat. So this again will be a talking point, I guess, Stephen, as to what happens against Denmark. Do you think it's quite straightforward, actually, that McGoldrick just comes in place of Connolly, or do you see perhaps a different role in the team for Connolly, or is it one or the other?
McGoldrick's 100% will play up the middle. I would have no doubt about that. I can't see that changing. Whether or not he decides to stick Connolly on the left and play with a three, it's a one-off game. As much as he sticks with James McLean, and we know what James offers, and he puts a shift in going back. Going forward, if you could play Connolly left side of a tree, that coming in, that goal against Tottenham where he came off the left hand side and whipped in the far corner, if he can produce something like that for us, and he's pacey and he's quick and he's more of a threat going forward, more of a goal threat at the moment, so that could be an option. Whether it's an option to come off the bench, possibly we might set up steady and then ease our way into the game, but it is a one-off game, and you got I'd be calling Shane Long and just stick him on the bench, because we should be having as many circles as we possibly can to try and win that game. It's an unbelievable opportunity to qualify for a major tournament.
We'll come back to that, but there's been a goal at the Amex. It's Brighton against Everton. Alan Lewis.
Brighton 1, Everton 0. The home side in front, livening up what had been a pretty dire game up until that point. Pascal Grosch with a free kick just a yard outside the box. Hit an absolute beamer. Pickford got his fingertips to it, couldn't keep it out. It's Brighton 1, Everton 0.
This game is do or die for Ireland against Denmark. A draw means nothing. So victory and Ireland qualify. Anything else and we're going to the playoffs. No selection would say more about Mick McCarthy's attitude to the game than if you put Aaron Connolly in ahead of James McLean. The buzz around the stadium, it would suggest, you know what, we're going to go and we're going to actually try and win this, rather than we're going to go and try and hang in there for 80 minutes, hope to God we don't concede and maybe nick something right at the end.
He's trying to win the game, but that doesn't mean necessarily you go gung-ho. So he's 2 options. Try and play Aaron Connolly and play players that are probably technically better, or try to hold on in there and nick a set piece and have McLean as your defensive option. And knowing Mick's inclination, it's a win at all cost game, but at the same time, if we approach the game like we did against Denmark the last time they visited under Martin O'Neill's reign, where we were way too gung-ho, they will open us up. So I think you have to be a bit pragmatic as well.
Yeah, it's a debate. I mean, the game wasn't over at half time in the 5-1, but with Denmark 2-1 up, it sort of felt like it, and that's when Martin O'Neill made the real gung-ho substitutions at half time to really try and turn things around. I've made the point, like McLean can still, like, you know, think of the Switzerland game. I mean, he basically won Ireland a point with his sort of perseverance late in the day. And there is a debate over, do you keep him actually in reserve for the last 20-25 for a massive impact, maybe to lift the game if it's deadlocked. But I don't know. I mean, certainly the populist call is going to be to do that with Connolly. And if that friendly against New Zealand is 3 or 4 days before, and if Connolly played and he tore it up, and he hasn't played at the stadium before, you know, but if he plays in that New Zealand game and he's got a bit of momentum, it's certainly tempting. But I do wonder is, you know, Mick is a man for saying, if you offer me this at the start of the group, you know, I'd have taken it. If you offered him 0-0 with 25 minutes to go, would he take it? I think he would.
Yeah.
And I think that or a draw, whatever, 1-1, you know, to be in the game with 25 minutes to go. And I just think he'll keep something in reserve for that scenario, rather than necessarily playing all his cards. So if you play Connolly, then what is McLean your go-to off the bench? Like, what is your, maybe as Stephen says, maybe it's a Shane Long type situation, but you need to keep something. You need to have that plan B, so that, you know, if you're in the game and then you have a way of escalating things if you have to go for it. Because, as you mentioned, like, Denmark need the point, and no matter how good they are, I still think mentally, if it's tight as they get into the last 15-20, the fact they need the draw to go through will probably inform how they approach it, and that's when Ireland needs something to call on. Like this squad doesn't have that big man option that you talk about. You know, you don't have the old let's get Niall Quinn on here and pump the ball into the area. So there needs to be something more than that.
There's the big question: where have all the big men gone? Do we blame the regional centres? Do we blame emerging talent? That not only are we ignoring the small guys, we're now ignoring the big guys.
What we need.
One good thing we had.
Where's the next Gary Doherty coming from?
This is the question.
It will become a thing again, though, because like no Manchester City's defence would struggle to cope. Liverpool's defence would struggle to cope with the likes of Peter Crouch as a second option. But we haven't mentioned the midfield. Like, our midfield has been so poor for the last few games, and I don't think Mick even knows what his midfield is at the moment. And Hendrick seems to be kind of holding on by a thread in terms of his performance level. I mean, Horan's stats on, you know, in terms of possession have been very poor. Glenn Whelan has essentially been our most productive midfielder, I think, and that's at his age where he's at.
He'll play, definitely.
Yeah, that's a shocking indictment of where we're at, because so I mean, there's a lot of dilemmas there. Does he definitely play 4-5-1? I would imagine he will, but
is part of the problem, Stephen, for Mick, that when players have come in, they maybe haven't taken their opportunity, so he can point to Aaron Connolly, and Kevin Caban has made the point that maybe he switched off a little bit for the goal, that Alan Brown came in that game. Did he do enough that you're sitting here now going, he has to start?
No one's come in, and you said, like, Connolly, after he came off for his in the first game where he came on for a few moments, he showed glimpses and he went through on goal twice and he cut opportunities. So everybody was clamouring for him to start the next game because of he showed that a bit more than we had, an attacking threat, pacing the ball, an eye for goal, and looked like someone that we could trust into it. Then comes on the next game and he didn't have those opportunities. Whether they went creative for them was possibly the argument, that he didn't get the same chances, and if he did switch off for the goal. But, you know, no one has come in and you said, oh my God, that kid has to start, he has to play, we're going to be lost if we don't have him, or he's such a good option that we need to make him start. That's why we're thinking, is Connolly going to play over McLean? Because, you know, McLean is a safe option in a sense because of his tracking aspect and because he will offer the team solidity. But then if we're looking for that little bit of, I suppose, vavavoom going forward, does Connolly offer that? He did and won the game in glimpses. The second game, not so much. So it's still there to be seen whether or not we have someone that's going to do that.
McGoldrick is going to be key, because McGoldrick will probably hold the ball up well and bring other players into the game. And if you think of that Georgia game in Dublin in particular, which was probably the best display in the group, like McGoldrick's play in that game is partly what allowed Hendrick and Howard to actually get forward and be effective. And like that, I think that'll probably, presuming he's available and he's fit and he's well, like, you know, if he is there, I think that might inform McCarthy's selection. Whereas if he doesn't have a McGoldrick option there, you know, like, it didn't really work with it. Collins was a bit sort of isolated, and he's not you know, Collins is a guy who gets on the end of crosses in the box. That's what he does at Luton all the time, and he's not necessarily a player outside the box who's going to sort of, really make the team tick. So having McGoldrick back is a significant thing. Like I think that was something that Mick was unlucky with. In the month just gone, he definitely
would have helped Connolly.
He would have helped in both of those games.
Yeah.
Collins was like a rabbit in headlights. It wasn't in an ideal position.
Is it only our national team that talks about maybe nicking a goal? It drives me crazy as a mental attitude, like we can only score by a bobble in the area or something.
That's where we're at the moment.
Yeah.
Have you watched the team?
No, I think that will change in the next 5 years.
What's happening that you think will change?
I definitely think there'll be a change in culture. Like, I'm not saying Stephen Kenny's going to have all the answers, but at the moment, that's where we're at. There's nothing in this campaign to suggest we basically score from set pieces or we're no good.
There's been another goal at Goodison Park. Brighton against Everton, or not Goodison Park, the Amex. Brighton against Everton. Alan Lewis.
Brighton 1, Everton 1, the home side's lead lasting just 5 minutes. A corner from the near side, swung in right-footed. Richarlison with the header at the near post, down beyond the reach of Matty Ryan. Brighton 1, Everton 1.
All right, so Everton right back in that, as we said. Seamus Coleman on the bench. Shane Duffy not in the squad, which might be a bit of a concern. That there might be some sort of an injury. Obviously, he's not been in the starting 11, and also it looks as though they might be actually playing with a back four.
I was just looking at
today.
that. It's slightly unusual for Brighton. The whole point of, well, not the whole point, but one of the reasons for Duffy missing out was the back three, and they wanted him stepping out with the ball. And that's certainly. I'm sure someone will be following that up today to see is there an actual injury there.
So the latest scores in the Premier League, it's Brighton 1, Everton 1, still scoreless between Watford and Bournemouth, and in the game between West Ham and Sheffield United. If you missed it, Manchester City earlier on beat Aston Villa by 3-0. All the goals in the second half. Raheem Sterling right after half time, and then goals from Kevin De Bruyne and Ilkay Gundogan. Fernandinho sent off late on in that game for a second bookable offence, means he'll only miss the one match and will be back for Manchester City's game against Liverpool in a couple of weeks' time. Let's hear from Pep Guardiola.
Pep, what's your verdict? Was that completely different Manchester City side in the second half, the side you wanted to see?
Yes, we helped a lot to score the first minute. The second half helped us, and the second half was our game. Yeah, we played 45 minutes. We didn't play 90.
Was it a big team talk at half time? Is that why we saw that extra energy, that extra tempo?
Yeah, we spoke each other, of course. So the first half we correct something, but there is something that sometimes it happens. But the second half was so good.
They did cause you a couple of problems in the first half, and you had to be patient to wait to break them down?
No, it's not about the patience. So Raheem was so aggressive, but it was the only one. So we need more players, more our determination, and of course help us the second half to score the goal.
Enormous amount of firepower, but a little headache towards the end of the match with Fernandinho picking up a second yellow card in a position that's already been a problem for you. Something else for you to solve.
Yeah, sometimes happen. You have a lot of problems in one position, more problems is coming in the same position. It's where it is. So it happened, it happened with Phil Foden. Last game in Champions League that the youngest one and the oldest one happened again. So football is taking decisions in the right moment, and sometimes it's happened. It's football.
There's been a debate raging about the second goal. Who scored it? I mean, it's immaterial in some respects to you because you've won the game well. But who's deciding whose goal it is? Is it Silva's? Is it Kevin De Bruyne's?
I don't know. Honestly,
I don't think anyone does.
Hopefully VAR. Spend 5 minutes for choose which player score a goal, not to be disallowed it. So hopefully.
Well, thank you very much, Pep.
Yeah, a little bit of VAR controversy in that game as well for Manchester City's second goal, but they're back within 3 points of Liverpool at the top. Liverpool against Spurs live on Off the Ball tomorrow with myself and David Myler, and we'll have Liverpool Man City in a couple of weeks' time as well. The latest scores in the Premier League, still 1-1 between Brighton and Everton, no goals between Watford and Bournemouth, and it's still scoreless between West Ham and Sheffield United. The late game is between Burnley and Chelsea. There's 4 more matches in the Premier League tomorrow. We'll also have Newcastle against Wolves. In the Championship, Preston's promising start to the season is falling flat very quickly. They're now 2-0 down at home against Blackburn with nearly half an hour gone there. And West Brom, who are top of the Championship, have taken a 1-0 lead against Charlton. All the rest of the 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Championship are still scoreless.
I only realised during the week you have that red, if you have Sky, you have that red button service.
And you can watch anything.
It's absolutely unbelievable. On Tuesday I watched a good bit of Preston Leeds. Then you can flick over to West Brom, Barnsley, Bit of
your
Millwall.
wife loves the red
Bit of
button.
Millwall. Oh, she was out. But got to see Jason Malumbi play for a few. Like, it was a great way of sort of just catching up with what's going on. But Preston actually played okay against Leeds during the week.
It's only worth it though, Dan, if you're a total hipster and you tweet about it. Oh, David McGoldrick really should have scored there. Big chance for Sheffield United.
No.
That was a good save from the West Ham keeper.
I didn't tweet
that
about
you're
it.
going, oh, I'm sitting here watching Millwall while there's Champions League on.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that.
What's the point of watching it then?
I got it all.
You got to get it. Well, you said it now, I guess.
I suppose I have said it now. Like, yeah, and I did tell Johnny at the time. But yeah, no, I did say it. But Preston were pretty good. So I thought like they might get a bit, because Sean Maguire was left on the bench for that game, but came on and made a goal against Leeds straight away, and it was a real sort of end-to-end match.
It was a big chance for Dave McGoldrick to open the scoring. It was a header down to McGoldrick.
He was trying to get his feet around it.
He's about 4 or 5 yards out, and it just dropped him. And you say, just try to flick his foot at it, but the goalkeeper was pretty much on top of him and managed to save. So that game remains scoreless. Stephen, have a listen to this, because we're going to ads, but you're all going to have a good think about this. Even you, Johnny. Oh, no. Even you. Damien Delaney was in during the week, and he was offering his thoughts on the top 4 footballers to have played the game. I have no idea how this came up and how they came up with 4 rather than 3 or 5, but it is top 4 footballers to have played the game. Here is what Damien Delaney thought.
You managed to hold your powder fairly well during the end of that conversation between yourself and Tim.
It was the only point where I decided I wanted to jump in there, but then I realised that there might not be enough time. Maradona comes in 4th on the list of all time.
4th.
I mean, you two are harping on there about Pele, Maradona, and then your man chucks Di Stefano in. I mean, listen, Cristiano number 1 for me. Pele number 2 for me, and Leo number 3 for me, and Diego coming in a distant 4th.
Distant?
A distant 4th of them 3.
I'm not having that.
Listen, he won a World Cup in '86, a couple of Serie A's, and then lost the plot.
I'd bloody well lose the plot if I was there.
Probably has a good couple of stories, but you know, the consistency that the other 3 have, the longevity they have, their stats, their trophies. If you want to, you know, you were a young boy in '86 and, you know, Mexico '86 holds some special memory for you, great, you know, but that doesn't put him in the all-time.
That's the most patronising greater thing I've ever heard on the show. Yeah, you're great, fair play.
There's no room for feeling in this debate.
Whatever, it's grand. Let's deal with
We're
that.
cold hard facts tonight.
You're just dealing with stats. You're a cold stats man.
No, facts. You know,
stats and facts are
I'm telling
different things.
Telling you.
Damien Delaney and Richie McCormick there from the football show during the week. Top 4 footballers, Maradona not in the top 3. We need to take a break. Dan McDonnell is ready. He's itching to come in. Johnny has that usual look of, well, it's probably something else.
We all know
he's
probably watching something else. But I actually have never had a discussion with Johnny, but I have an idea who he might identify with in that top 4, and he loves the rogue. He'll be high up the list.
Stephen, you have a good think about that. Is there a sense that you might agree with Damien Delaney there?
Yeah, for a bit today, yeah. Definitely for a bit.
Oh, all right.
Just get to these ads now. Come on, let's get back to this.
All right, we'll be back. Latest score is still scoreless between West Ham and Sheffield United. It is scoreless between Watford and Bournemouth, and it's 1-1 between Brighton and Everton. That goal for Richarlison's actually been put down as an own goal for Webster. So they're the latest scores in the Premier League. Quick break and we're back in a minute.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Productive afternoons with Harvey Norman. Need more you time? Ask about our range of large capacity washing machines with quick wash functions in Harvey Norman today. Now, where's the remote?
Go, Harvey, go. Value is often only in the eye of the beholder. Occasionally, though, it's a total no-brainer. Like choosing a Toyota service pack, which includes 2 services from €299. You'll get the expertise that only Toyota-trained technicians guarantee. Real value, no compromise. It's why 9 out of 10 customers recommend a Toyota service. So check out our superb service pack offers at toyotaservice.ie. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
Listen up, class. Aldi's Play Rugby sticker promotion is finishing soon. Keep collecting official Irish rugby stickers every time you spend €30 in Aldi. Fill your primary school's poster for a chance to win one of 2 €50,000 prizes or one of 10 €10,000 prizes for your school's playing facilities. There's a guaranteed Aldi Play Rugby kit worth over €100 for every completed poster submitted. Aldi, official supermarket of the IRFU. Full details at aldi.ie/playrugby. Promotion runs until the 8th of November.
Hey, who's coming to the permanent TSB Ideal Home Show?
At last, we're going to do something with the house.
It's time we asked an expert about an extension and energy saving and...
Well, we need interior design advice and new furniture.
We should visit the Finline Furniture Show House.
It's all at the permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, RDS, this weekend.
You don't have heart failure. God forbid. Not you. You don't feel breathless after climbing the stairs. Ignore your swollen ankles. You don't have constant fatigue. For many, all these could mean heart failure, but not for you. Nah, you're the exception, the one that got away.
Don't ignore what could be the signs of heart failure like I did. Hi folks, Michael Leicester here. Visit knowyourheart.ie and take our symptoms checker. Brought to you by the Irish Heart Foundation, supported by Novartis.
They've done it again. For the third year running, Grant has received another Which Best Buy for its Vortex Pro Utility Condensing Oil Boiler range. Look no further for exceptional reliability and efficiency, and trust Grant to heat your home. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.eu.
As a business owner, Brexit could affect you in any number of ways. At AIB, we have an extended Brexit support line to help you in this time of uncertainty. Whether you need help preparing for Brexit or have a concern, call 0818 300 081. Lines are open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday, or visit aib.ie/Brexit. AIB, we back brave. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At Dundeel, we have more cars from trusted car dealerships than any other site in Ireland. So whether you're looking for the latest SUV model or an approved used car, you can always be sure to find exactly the right car for you. Dundeel, Ireland's largest car showroom, in the palm of your hand.
Cash free, hassle free. Where'd I put the ticket again? Free. Parking in Dundrum is breezy with an easy trip toll tag. Your account gets charged automatically, no messing about with cash. Just cruise in and out like royalty and focus on the important stuff. Shopping. To park like a VIP, sign up at easytrip.ie. We heart in real life. Dundrum Town Centre.
If you snooze, you might lose out on these incredible Emirates return fares flying twice daily from Dublin. Experience the luxurious desert oasis of Dubai from €499, a cultural adventure in Bangkok from €519, or picture-perfect Sydney from €999. Book early and snooze later as these special fares are limited. Visit emirates.com/IE. Fly Emirates. Fly better. Book by the 29th of October 2019. Limited availability. Terms, conditions and fare exclusions apply.
Closing time. A girl sits alone on the curb. Head down, worse for wear.
Do you remember me?
This young lad sits beside her.
No.
Says he knows her. Can walk her to her place.
Your friends told me to take you home.
His pals don't blink when she staggers and falls. They shrug it off with,
Nice work, pal.
Here, better leave it to it.
Enough is enough. Let's stop excusing sexual harassment and sexual violence. Learn more at gov.ie/no-excuses. or in an emergency call 999. This is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Be part of the Perfume Shop's exclusive buy one get the second half price gifting weekend. Buy any perfume in-store or online and you get the second half price. Thinking of a present? Think the Perfume Shop for the ultimate finishing touch. Offer ends Sunday the 27th of October. Visit theperfumeshop.com/IE for details.
Lighten up your home with 20% off our wonderful range of lights. Homebase. Feels good to be home. Excludes solar, Christmas lights and light bulbs. Ends 5th of November.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Welcome back to Saturday's Off the Ball. It's Brighton 1, Everton 1, scoreless between Watford and Bournemouth, and in the game between West Ham and Sheffield United. Manchester City 3-0 winners against Aston Villa earlier. Burnley-Chelsea is the late game. There's around 10 minutes to go until half-time and all the 3 o'clock kickoff. Stephen Kelly is on the line, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward in studio on this Saturday's Off the Ball. 53106 is the text. There is a lot of them coming through. Shane Long not been in the team sums up McCarthy's tactical ineptness as a manager, says David in Cork. I don't know if Shane Long is
really. It's more of
the one that I would really nail Mick McCarthy on, considering he's not playing any football.
Yeah, I mean, he's played a bit this season. No, I think there's definitely a case for having him in the squad, but I think it is a classic case of someone being on the outside of it suddenly becoming the story. He probably should have been in the last squad. I think that's a fair enough point, but I don't know if you could mark his absence then as the difference between result A and result B.
A text from Diddy in Cork, Stephen. We touched on this last week. Lads, any insight on why Howerhan doesn't come close to reproducing his club form at Villa when he plays for Ireland? I watched him a match of the day 2 weeks ago against Norwich, scored a great goal, has another goal disallowed, had an assist and won a penalty. Contrast that with his performances in a green jersey. Unrecognisable.
Because we don't keep the ball the same way.
No, he doesn't really look for the ball though for Ireland as much. There seems to be a collective sort of I don't know, is it kind of fear or lack of responsibility that goes back a long way at this stage. We have good technical midfielders who generally don't seem to want to get on the ball.
But even when you look at Matt Doherty's performance in that game, how low par was his in comparison to his club form. There's nothing like it. The lads don't replicate for Ireland. I think it's down to the general way we play. We don't keep the ball the same way, and we don't. I don't know whether we don't encourage. I'm sure Mick wants them to play. I just it's hard to pinpoint, but they don't produce it.
This has been a consistent problem though for many years now, that players do things at international level that they would never do when they're playing with their clubs, and maybe it is a certain lack of trust, and they're so well drilled at club level now that when they come away from home, things don't flow so easily. But like, what was your experience of that? Like, did you feel a lot of the time you played your best football at club level?
Yeah, definitely. It depends on the players in the team you have. But when I was at Fulham at the time and we got to the Europa League final, we were just set up in a way, and everybody knew their role. It was easy to play. Training just went from training onto the pitch, and it just kind of happened again. And the players I had around me were very good. So I think at club footballs, because you're training week in, week out with the same players, you're training with them, you're playing with them, you get a level of consistency, and it's hard to replicate that when you come out to the national team because you don't have the same amount of time to gel and play with them, and that's definitely a factor. You train with people every day, so you know their ins and outs, you know where they want the ball, their movement off the ball. As much as you can be with lads in the national team for 10 years and you come in, it's almost like starting afresh every time just to get to go again, and it's not the same.
I think that point was probably lost a bit on people as well, particularly in Geneva, when you just looked at the team we had, and granted, I think I was maybe guilty of getting a bit over optimistic, but how was Aaron Connolly supposed to know? The amount of times Aaron Connolly made runs sort of either in behind or down the channel, and the ball was late or the ball was slow or the ball was overhit, and you look at Collins, who wasn't really, like, he's playing against a proper international team. He's a little bit out of his depth and needs to do an awful lot of chasing. He's playing alongside Connolly, who obviously don't have a relationship. And I'm wondering, Stephen, how much you could blame the international managers, or is it a product of the fact that they've so little time with these players to actually, particularly our midfield, because I don't think our midfield should look like, to me they look like most of the time that they've really actually never played with each other before.
It's a bit of both, really. I don't think you can completely blame the manager because, like I said, he does only have a little bit amount of time, and there's only so much you can do. And when you factor into that if the lads have played on a Sunday, the recovery time you have to give them, you don't want to rush them back into training. You can't be doing really long sessions, and the game is upon you before you've even had a chance to. Like before the last game, I don't even think they got an opportunity to work on three at the back because they said they felt like they're being watched in the stadium. So when things like that happen, it's hard to put into place something that you make the players feel comfortable that they all know their role. So that's difficult. But in saying that, when you come away, you need to be telling the players that if you want it for Aaron Connolly, you should be saying to the players that are playing around him, listen, this is what he does well. These are the positions he runs into. This is what he likes to do. For us to get the best out of him, we need to find him in those areas and trying to find him when he's making those runs. And if Aaron Connolly is a young lad and he's not going to be probably howling at the midfield to do it, then it has to come to the sidelines to tell them that watch where he's running, find him with the ball, get it there earlier. As a young lad, there'll be a lot of pressure on him to try and be giving out to the senior players in the squad if they're not finding him. Whereas if he's making their runs, they should try and find them. And if he can't do it, then it comes from the management staff. They should be able to tell them, listen, we need to be looking for him or trying to find them or forcing a pass that way. So it's a bit of both. But again, it's difficult with Ireland.
I've been watching the Sheffield United game here, notwithstanding the fact that McGoldrick has been absolutely excellent, the bits I've seen, his general play, he's had 2 or 3 chances. Robinson looked like he's the greatest sitter of all time there, and the keeper gets the slightest of touches. He had an open goal. And you'd have to say Sheffield United are well in this game. Like they've had, and there are actually 3 Irish players involved there in the last second. Obviously with Stevens coming in with the shot, but they look like they've plenty. They look like they've no issues with confidence or fitness at the moment. Anyway,
top 4 players of all time. We don't know how it came up, but it came up. Tim Vickery was involved somewhere along the line as well, because we're talking about Maradona on Pele's birthday. So you got into a Pele Maradona, which was obviously the precursor to Messi Ronaldo. So Damien Delaney's top four were Cristiano Ronaldo number 1, Pele number 2, Messi number 3, Maradona number 4. I think we should go to Johnny Ward first on this.
I think it's a stupid debate because, like, how long is football going realistically? Like,
welcome to Saturday afternoon, John.
Yes, hang on a sec though. So in the history of football as a proper game is what, 80, 100 years old, give or take. Pele was playing 50 odd years ago. So that's half of the history of football. The game is evolving at a rapid rate. If Christy Ring were playing hurling nowadays, he'd find it a pretty difficult sport because it's just so different to when he was playing. And it's the same thing here. I mean, I've never seen Pele in the flesh, never seen him obviously play football. I wouldn't have Ronaldo number 1. I'd have Messi ahead of Ronaldo for one thing. I think Messi's a far more talented player, but
that was the biggest outrage. They were getting tied up in Maradona because I would agree with Johnny. Like, I don't know where Pele ranks. I've seen the footage, I've seen some of the goals, but
you can compare him.
We can watch Messi every single Saturday night for the last 15 years.
Yeah, it's like these debates. Do you rank someone in a one-off game, like who was at their best, or is it career achievement? I don't think. I think.
Well, we can all agree. Anybody who puts Ronaldo ahead of Messi
is wrong.
Is wrong.
Yeah,
that's incorrect.
But if you did a poll, a lot of people would.
Get rid of him. Why are you putting Ronaldo ahead of Messi?
I think Messi is probably the most talented footballer ever played the game. I think Ronaldo is the greatest all-round footballer ever to play the game. I think if you went into a lab and designed the perfect player, it would be a picture of Cristiano Ronaldo. You couldn't design anymore. Left foot, right foot, height, strength, jumping, pace, goal-scoring ability. He literally does not have an attribute that's not good for football. Messi, he is so talented. And again, probably the most natural talented ever to grace the field. And I love watching him. But if you had to pick one, I would say Ronaldo, based on the fact that he ticks every box.
Yeah, but football isn't made in a lab, Stephen. You don't want those type of players. You want the little guy, the genius.
Yeah, but he is a genius. But the fact that we have a guy that wasn't made in a lab and he is naturally talented like that, how is that not absolutely out of this world?
See, this is a problem now because we have the two actual professional footballers saying Ronaldo ahead of Messi.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that, doesn't it?
Yeah. What do they know?
What do they know? Playing the game, what do you know?
Yeah, Messi has played with arguably better players over a course of his career as well. Like when he played with Xavi and Iniesta for that long period of time, they're the best midfielders possibly ever to play the game.
I presume you played against Ronaldo quite a few times more than you played against Messi.
Yeah.
Did you play the night at the opening of the Aviva against Messi?
Yeah, I came on, but he went off just beforehand. So, but he just walked around the pitch, didn't he? He didn't really.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see the Messi we all were hoping to see that night. I was in the bench thinking, "No, this is great. I'm dying to see him." And I'm not sure he touched the ball that much because I think he was too worried about getting injured. To be honest.
One of the black marks since Messi is, and this is without seeing an awful lot of Argentina games, is I don't think you can compare his international performance to what he's done for Barca. And I think that's probably a fair accusation. Like you could probably have an argument who was more talented, Steven Gerrard or Roy Keane. Like Gerrard was probably more talented in terms of like raw technical ability. He was a far better shooter of the ball, better passer in terms of the outrageous pass. But who was a better player, Keane by a stretch.
You disagreed with my argument. Basically.
Well, if you're talking about the best, I don't know what's the best or most. I don't know, but I'd still have Messi ahead of Ronaldo.
He's very involved in this nonsensical argument all of a sudden, doesn't he? He's bringing it down different tracks.
I was expecting Johnny to make a big Maradona play here because sort of tortured genius would be right up your street. To be honest,
you watch the movie? Yeah. I like Maradona.
Is Johnny Diego or is he Maradona? Depends on the day.
It's funny. I remember being when I was a kid. Our cousins in Coventry, they sent us home all these it sounds like we were really impoverished, which we weren't that impoverished, but it was kind of like
it was the west of Ireland in the 80s, Johnny.
Yeah,
you were impoverished enough.
It was like the days of the 50s where remittances were kind of the biggest income that we had in the country. But my cousin sent over these jerseys, and I had this really crude O'Neill's Argentinian Maradona jersey, but I was so young I thought it was legit. And I remember that day in school, playing in the backyard, I thought I was absolutely invincible, and it was like Maradona was my absolute hero as a kid. But he had if you watch the movie, which is well worth watching, it came at a huge price. I think it's very hard. It's very, very hard for these people to kind of maintain that performance, considering the lives they live and the bubble that they live in, and he couldn't manage it very well.
Listen, if you had a hypothetical scenario, Stephen, or anyone, and you could watch one of those players play. You know, you have your
That's a good one.
There's your €20, and that's your admission fee.
20 quid.
It's a notional figure, John. All right, that would be like it'd be a free ticket, right? But you have a free ticket to go and watch one of them. Which one would you pick?
It wouldn't be Ronaldo.
Messi every day of the week.
But not go and watch Diego though.
Well,
I'd probably go for Messi.
Are you saying that because we've never seen Maradona, go back in time and watch him at his peak?
That's basically, yeah. I think if you could pick anybody, you'd probably go back to see the players you've not been able to see. So that changes again.
Yeah, you want to watch George Best in his prime. You know, because like people say like Best, he just burnt out so quickly and so dramatically. But actually, when he was in his pomp, he was spectacular. And this is the other argument.
As Johnny said, Sheffield United were dominating against West Ham. There's been a goal, though, at the London Stadium. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 1, Sheffield United 0. Fine finish by Robert Snodgrass. It was route 1, misplaced defensive header. Yarmolenko with a touch into the path of Snodgrass, who composed himself and rolled the ball in left-footed. Tough on Sheffield United. They'd been the better team and had missed 4 presentable chances. West Ham 1, Sheffield United 0.
Who was the best player you ever went up against, Stephen?
The toughest game I've ever had was against Frank Ribery, on the 21s game for Ireland, and I didn't actually know anything about him, so I went into the game and I was captain 21s and was thinking, who's this guy? And oh my God, it was just relentless. And
Can I just stop you there, right? So you're playing under 21 against France, and you weren't sufficiently briefed as to who Frank Ribery was.
No, I didn't know.
Don't turn this back on the FAI.
No, but listen, that's a different debate altogether.
But this was the same story we heard from the previous under-21s regime. They played Germany, they wouldn't know any of the players. Like, you have one job. You literally have one job. You're playing against Germany and France. You should have some idea of how good these under-21 players are. Like, genuinely.
I have a story that will sum up the FAI in one go. We had 21s, and God rest his soul, Liam Miller. I was put advanced. I was 18 and 19 and put into the 21s who were a few years older than me. And we were playing a game in, I can't remember, it was Turner's Cross. I was in Dublin. We played against Germany. We beat them. Liam Miller was the best player on the pitch, absolutely outstanding. It was when he was getting into that form at Celtic, he was just unbelievable. Turned out that Liam shouldn't have been playing in the game because he was actually suspended and he'd never been told and was called up for the squad. So he went and played him, and afterwards they realised they shouldn't have played, so they deducted the points off us and the game didn't count.
Sickener.
Yeah, we allowed the FAI the right to reply on that. Who fault it was?
There you go.
Actually,
there was another time. Well, I mean, there was a senior Irish international where Shane Long was on the bench, but it was suspended, and the FAI just got away with it because he wasn't brought on.
He was brought on. Yeah, I was in that game as well.
Yeah. No, there's been one or two like near misses like that.
So Frank Ribery at under 21 level, and then when you were playing in and around the Premier League and you were playing Europa League football.
Senior level, I'd say like Ronaldo. Yeah, Ronaldo. Cristiano.
You probably saw Ronaldo that last season at United when he was at his absolute peak as well.
Yeah, and he was playing left wing, so I think I've spoken with. He was playing left wing, and I was playing right back, and he was a winger then as well. So just relentless.
How did you prepare for that?
I suppose you go into games like that when you're playing against someone that you know is that good, and you've got nothing to lose really. You just try and up your game as much as you can, and like as a fullback, the challenges that you really love to take on, you want to put yourself against the best and see who you can cope and see who you do, and you know it went okay. I actually don't think he scored in a couple of games he's played in, so that can't be bad. not to say I'm anything like Cristiano Ronaldo, but you know. It's great to play against these players and to have an opportunity to be on the pitch with these people and to see what they've gone on to do in their careers. And you know when you're playing against them that you're playing against someone special, which is it's a great feeling.
I'm not suggesting like sledging or anything, but would you try some like kind of I suppose like just say a few things to him to try and ruffle him, or is it all on the pitch when you're playing against a player that you're kind of looking for any edge that's there?
It'd be more the physical side of things. You'd be just, grabbing them and kicking them and doing everything you could. Like as soon as you got the ball, the first tackle, when you're allowed to make tackles, you'd be trying to put him in the stand and, without actually hurting him, but like trying to let him know that he's going to be in for a contest. And, to be fair, he got on with it and he fought back and he was physical. And it was, like I said, he was quite an amicable person to play against.
Let's get the half times from around the grounds at the Premier League. Starting at the London Stadium, West Ham against Sheffield United. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 1, Sheffield United 0. Robert Snodgrass rolling the ball home from a lovely little pass from Yarmolenko just before the break to put the Hammers ahead. Before then, though, Sheffield United had looked by far the most likely to score, despite really surviving on scraps as far as possession was concerned. But McGoldrick had 2 fine chances. Lundstrom poked wide when it looked slightly easier to score. Robinson couldn't get a header on target after a slight touch by the keeper, and Stevens saw the resultant shot deflected just wide. Unlucky on United, though. West Ham 1, Sheffield United 0.
10th game of the season for Watford, and they're still looking for their first victory. They're at home against Bournemouth today. Andrew Cheal.
Watford 0, Bournemouth 0. Bournemouth have had the 3 best chances. Defender Steve Cook's header came back off the crossbar, and a cracking left foot half volley from Rico brought a full-length flying save from Ben Foster. Foster also saved from Danjuma at point-blank range. Doucouré for Watford blazed wastefully over the bar. Deulofeu twice and Pereira have also had shots on target, but too tame to trouble the goalkeeper. Watford 0, Bournemouth 0.
It is Brighton against Everton. Alan Lewis.
Brighton 1, Everton 1, a game that's picked up after a slow start. Pascal Grosch putting the home side ahead with a powerful free kick through the fingertips of Jordan Pickford. The lead only lasting 5 minutes, though. Richarlison's header at the near post deflected for an Adam Webster own goal. Theo Walcott had a decent chance to put Everton in front. Iwobi's deflected shot almost sneaked its way past Matt Ryan. At the other end, Alzate had a good chance blocked. Everton the better side since going behind, but at the break, it's Brighton 1, Everton 1.
Just saying, I'm going to the cup final, Dan.
Oh, we're having a discussion. Yeah.
We're having a discussion about the cup final, the FAI Cup final, Sunday week.
Sunday week, yeah, you're going.
Shamrock Rovers Dundalk, I'll be there.
Oh, very good.
Watched both games last night, and it really did whet the appetite. Like I thought the Dundalk game was really enjoyable. I know the pressure was off, but some of the football Dundalk played was excellent. Ferrugia for Rovers was pretty off the charts second half. He came on at half time.
Ferrugia's I know we're coming up towards 4 o'clock, but Ferrugia's a fascinating character. It's biomedical science.
Genius by all accounts.
/ full-time footballer who's doing his degree in the spare time.
And weirdly,
he's talking about doing his
sort
labs.
of forgotten man of Irish football. I know because he picked up an injury at the bad time, but very much involved with Stephen Kenny at the start of the under-21s.
He was the
playing
first
brilliantly,
choice.
gets his move to Rovers, gets injured. But maybe, as Johnny was sort of suggesting, the cup final might suit him down to the ground.
Oh, the big wide surface, and that's
him and Gannon as well.
He started the 21s campaign as first choice, ahead of Aaron Connolly. So it's sort of amazing. But he's speaking to him the other day. Like he's playing full-time football, training in the mornings because Rovers had the proper setup, but then trying to catch up with his biomedical science degree. His girlfriend's in the same course, so she has the notes and all this, and he's trying to study his degree.
That's a hell of a girlfriend.
He'll finish it next summer, and then he's turned down QPR before. He's turned down moves away.
Could have played for Malta. Could have played for France.
He doesn't fit any stereotypes.
It was put to me that he's hockey. He played quite a bit of hockey, and it was put to me that it might not be helping his injury because of the strength of that hockey's, or the strain that it puts on your legs. But he did not look. I was watching last night because Duna. It's probably as good as I've seen someone do on Sean Gannon for a long time. James Duna did really well on him, but Ferrugia absolutely dominated the second half. So if he's playing on Gannon, that could be a really, really key. I think the hype is just coming along nicely. I think the crowd is going to be 40,000 odd, hopefully.
Oh, 40,000, Johnny goes. We'll talk about that right after the break.
Coffee?
Join the conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Skoda's best ever 0% finance offer is available across the entire range, across the entire country.
Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement and subject to lending criteria. Deposit required, terms and conditions apply. Skoda Finance is authorised by the Federal Financial Supervisory Authority in Germany and regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
See? The entire country. Offer ends 31st of October. Skoda, made for Ireland.
This Irish success story is brought to you by Guaranteed Irish.
Who would have thought from humble beginnings in a small-town butcher shop in the 1880s that Clonakilty black pudding would be exported around the world today? Supporting 50 jobs in the seaside town of West Cork, this family business and its famous recipe has become a local treasure, putting Clonakilty on the global food map. Guaranteed Irish helps you support companies that are altogether better choices for our communities. So look out for it. GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
Introducing Air TV and Apple TV. Enjoy all the live TV action and live sport you love with the best of on-demand programs and Apple TV Plus original shows and movies. Welcome to broadband and TV all in one place for just $49.99 a month. Welcome to a world of infinite entertainment. Air. Let's make possible. New customers only. 12-month contract, $79.99 a month after 6 months. Subject to availability. Bundle activation fee may apply. For full details and terms, see air.ie.
At Centra, our Wines We Love collection is a range of 10 exclusive wines developed by our passionate wine experts to ensure we have you covered whatever the occasion. From full-bodied Malbecs to crisp Sauvignon Blancs, your new favourites are waiting. Centra, Wines We Love, chosen for you. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Pumpkin spice and all things nice. They're just some of the treats you can expect to find at the free pumpkin patch this Halloween at Liffey Valley. There'll be arts and crafts classes where kids can pick, decorate and take home their own pumpkins. Mum and Dad will be treated to spice lattes and there'll be ghoulish goodies and festive recipe ideas to take home and enjoy. The Liffey Valley Pumpkin Patch for all things nice this Halloween. Monday 28th to Thursday 31st of October, 2 to 4 p.m. Find out more at liffeyvalley.ie.
They always say you should seize the day. That's today, not a week next Tuesday. So if you've been dreaming of a new car, upgrading your house, or a wedding that'll wow Instagram, now's the time. And if you've a great credit score, Avantcard's offering Ireland's lowest rate on loans over 20k. Dream big, live now. Apply today at avantcard.ie.
Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. New applications only. Info correct 10th of July 2019. Source ccpc.ie. Avantcard Act. Trading as Avantcard is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Here, come here, listen, I have to tell you about this hilarious new book by this deadly author called Jason Byrne. Yeah, that's me. It's the next instalment in the accidental adventures of Onion O'Brien, which is pretty much based on me growing up with my mates. The Accidental Adventures of Onion O'Brien, the head of Ned Belly, is the deadly new kids book by Jason Byrne, out now by me, talking to myself, Jason Byrne.
Be part of the Perfume Shop's exclusive buy one get the second half price gifting weekend. Buy any perfume in-store or online and you'll get the second half price. Thinking of a present? Think the Perfume Shop for the ultimate finishing touch. Offer ends Sunday the 27th of October. Visit theperfumeshop.com/IE for details.
Here, amidst the leafy splendour of suburbia, we're on the trail of an amazing example of natural evolution. Ah, there's one now. The EcoDan heat pump, perfectly adapted to Irish conditions. It converts renewable energy from the air to heat both home and water, while emitting significantly less carbon compared to fossil fuel.
Hey, yo, get out of my garden!
Homo sapien oratus. Best be going.
The EcoDan heat pump from Mitsubishi Electric. Changes for the better. Call 1890 326 326 or visit MitsubishiElectric/heating.
What would you expect from the new Volkswagen Passat? An elegant dynamic exterior and spacious interior? Advanced driver assistance systems for easier, safer driving? A plug-in hybrid option for a cleaner, greener drive? Expect all that and more, so you can be more and do more. The new Volkswagen Passat. What did you expect? Search Volkswagen Passat.
Fancy scoring free tickets to an incredible UEFA Champions League experience with Pepsi Max? Then show us your skills. Pepsi Max has 20 pairs up for grabs, and to be in with a chance to win, just pick up a Pepsi Max UEFA Champions League promotional pack in store. To enter, just post a video or pic of your best football trick with your promotional pack and share it on Pepsi Max Facebook or Instagram with hashtag for the love of it. See pepsimax.ie for details. Pepsi Max, maximum taste, no sugar.
Across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
Good evening, I'm Tina Gates. The bodies of all 39 people found in a truck in Essex on Wednesday have now been removed for post-mortems. Enda Brady from Sky News says the nationality of the victims is again under scrutiny.
A Vietnamese community group in the UK has been given photographs of 20 Vietnamese nationals whose families back home in Vietnam are beyond worries.
DUP leader Arlene Foster says the British government's proposed Brexit plan will hurt the North. She's told the party's annual conference in Belfast it can't back Boris Johnson and the party is election ready.
Now, more than ever, we will seek a mandate to ensure Northern Ireland has the strongest team fighting for it.
Drivers are being warned speed limits are being rigorously enforced this weekend, despite strike action by Go Safe speed van operators. SIP2's Brendan Carr wants Go Safe to return to talks.
In the van up to 11 hours with no access to any decent brakes, no toilet breaks. Very real concerns which can be fixed, but they're only going to be fixed if everyone sit around the table and start talking.
Gardaí are appealing for the public's help to find a 6-year-old boy's stolen wheelchair. Kyle Fitzgerald was devastated this morning when his chair was taken just hours before he was due to play specially adapted GAA. His dad Rory says it was packed in the family car, which was stolen from outside their home in Ashburn, County Meath.
The car is a white Ford Kuga. It's got a big boot because we need to fit the wheelchair into it. Silver alloys, blacked out back windows. It has a sticker on the back that says disabled child on board.
And a Dubliner's aiming to do the Dublin Marathon on the double tomorrow. Mark Conlon, who works as a security guard on the Lewis, is running it twice to raise money for the homeless.
Well, I was in the army myself for 10 years. What I seen in Chad, in Africa, I never thought I'd see in this country. But if you look around the city centre or around the outskirts, you'll see people sleeping in tents. There's kids getting fed late at night. They're walking the streets all night with their parents.
That's it for now. All news updates are on our website. That's newstalk.com.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA, you can find our lowest car insurance price online, guaranteed.
Mainly bright and sunny with a few showers over Connacht and Ulster. Feeling cold with highs of 7 to 10 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
All right, you are welcome back to Saturdays Off the Ball. Nathan with you until 5 o'clock. So another hour we have this with our microphones turned on.
Yeah, I mean, some people might prefer if we turn them off.
I don't want to say the boom is back, but Dan McDonnell just brought 2 Kit Kats.
2 Kit Kats,
One for himself and one for myself and Johnny to share.
Well, people who were listening for the ads would have heard Johnny shout coffee before he went, so he just laid down the...
Prima donna Johnny, he was shouting that at people outside. Yeah, coffee!
That was actually an order for someone, yeah.
Well, at least it was like... It was a drink of the non-alcoholic nature, which probably would have surprised a lot of people given the rubbish that is spouted here on a Saturday afternoon.
They're doing us down. We're trying to keep people listening.
Very hard. Yeah, let's talk about the FEI anyway.
53106 is the number. Second half's just underway in the Premier League. West Ham 1-0 up against Sheffield United. 1-1 between Brighton and Everton. And scoreless between Watford and Bournemouth. Stephen Kelly is still on the line as well. If you have any questions, any texts, do get them in. We've been talking about randomly the top 4 best players. It should you should only be allowed to talk about players you've seen.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. So if you had to pick the best player you've seen, would it be Messi?
Yeah, although the times I've actually watched him play, I probably haven't seen him at his best, but I saw him once at the World Cup in Brazil where he got a late goal in the American. I don't think which game it was, and it was him sort of in
last 16.
Yeah, in full flight. But no, I think it was actually a group stage game. But I still would go for him because you're watching Messi and it's like, oh, this is such a buzz. Like, this is Messi, you know. And but he probably, like, I haven't seen him at his best. I've seen Ronaldo play quite a few times as well. But never necessarily a memorable, sensational Ronaldo performance. Like, every time I see Luka Modric play, he's top class, for example.
Well, the best individual performance I think I've actually ever seen was Modric in the 2017 Champions League final. And even that day, Ronaldo scored twice, I think, for Real in that game. I don't remember him being unbelievable, but he did what he does so well. Like, he was in the right place at the right time and was sort of the focal point for everything. But I just had never seen a midfielder play the way Modric did in terms of sitting in front of the defence, even if there was 3 Bayern Munich players around him, demanding they give him the ball. And whatever way he got it, no matter who was near him, he'd turn towards the opposition goal and play it forward.
I think that's the sign of a truly great player. And, you know, with all the kind of pressing now and the rushing, where you can get a midfielder who just looks for the ball the whole time. And I suppose Jack Byrne does it for Shamrock Rovers.
I knew it was coming. I think in fairness to Luka Modric, if he improves certain areas, he could get to Jack's level.
Like, if there were one thing the Irish team lacks, it's a player who actually wants the ball in midfield and under any pressure, like under literally any pressure. And because when you're the emphasis for Modric there is that your touch has to be top class. So and I think as a young footballer, if you can get your first touch right under all sorts of pressure, both feet, everything else is kind of will follow. I think it's the most important thing, and I think the way maybe players in Ireland were coached or were brought up, maybe playing other sports as well. I think that's one thing we've always really lacked: somebody who can just kill the ball.
That's what Keane had.
Yeah.
Actually, Roy Keane would look for the ball anywhere on the pitch, literally, and demand it. Like, I trained him for a little bit, but watching him play, he so underestimated how much he would get on the ball and look for in tight areas, no matter who was around him, and then still keep the ball and play it. He was phenomenal at that.
I remember seeing Modric play in Euro 2008. He just met I think he moved that summer
to Spurs.
So, it was in Klagenfurt. I think it was Croatia, Germany, and they won, and he was sensational. And it's just, it was one of those ones where the press box was right at pitch level, so you were right down at the sort of like it was the old White Hart Lane, or Stamford Bridge. You're very, very low, and just seeing how sensationally good he was, and that always sort of springs to mind as like a great display. But would he even figure in many people's like top 10 of the last 10, 15 years?
John Giles.
Giles would.
Giles would have him in his top 10.
A lot of people would, a lot of people wouldn't. We wouldn't naturally spring to mind on their list.
A lot of text in on this. Hi lads, I didn't see Pele playing live, but I did see the other three. Messi is magical. Some of the things he's done have left me astounded. I did see another player live, and he was the best ever. George Best. Just bewildering. Tommy Foley and Tipperary. Ronaldo, every day of the week, number one. 3 different clubs, 3 outstanding careers, the best in the world. Which Ronaldo?
Oh, I assume he means
the current
Portuguese Ronaldo.
I think the original Ronaldo, the original one, it's funny, but like he was outstanding though. When you think about him in that World Cup, you just go, oh my God, what a player he was. The goals he scored, his pace. But I think that it's because it's the longevity that those players have all had peaks and faded, whereas Cristiano and Messi have done it consistently into their 30s now, which that's bewildering that they can do that.
Lads, Messi's a fine footballer, but he's never done much in an Argentina jersey, and for that reason alone, he doesn't surpass Maradona, says Chris in Dublin. Ronaldo's a machine, Messi is a magician. I prefer magic, it's why I follow football, says Benny in Galway.
Yeah, I think that's very, very accurate, actually. Machine versus magic.
I think the whole he didn't do much. He hasn't won a trophy in an Argentina shirt. Like, he did play in a World Cup final with them. He was part of a team that got to a World Cup final.
And Ronaldo's trophy with his country is Euro 2016, where he went off injured after 20 minutes.
After 20 minutes. Like, Messi at times has dragged that Argentina team out of situation. Like, they've been a very dysfunctional team. Like, they should have been much better with some of the attacking players that they've had. And there's a question about actually his personality and how it's fitted into that Argentina team, which is a different debate. But I don't think he's done nothing for them. He just hasn't had that trophy. I mean, if they won that World Cup final in 2014. If Messi, if there was an image of Messi with a World Cup trophy in his hands now, I think he would be number one in all the debates. I think, and because he doesn't have that, he's open to all this.
Where's this one? Bergkamp for me has to be in the top 4 behind Messi, Ronaldo, and Maradona, says Chris in Kilkenny. Did you play against Bergkamp?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, a few times in the senior team, but one of my first games for the Tottenham reserves was against Bergkamp, and it was him and Kanu up front, and I was playing centre back, and I was like, oh Jesus, this is ridiculous. yeah. That was one of my first games for the reserves, and their team had Bergkamp, Kanu, Parlour. I think Arsenal used to just like inflicting pain on Tottenham back then, so it was like, even though it was a reserve game, they thought we're going to put the big boys. Keown played, and so did Ljungberg. I think it was ridiculous. Don't think the scoreline was too flattering, but he was phenomenal. And again, played against him in the senior team as well. Again, amazing football. Just his touches, his awareness, his strength as well. The size, he's huge. He's a big guy as well. When you're thinking, God, physical presence, phenomenal footballer. But actually, don't want to cut across you. But one of the best players I think I've ever seen, and I trained him, never played him, was Glenn Hoddle. Even now, to this day, watching him train, he used to join the training all the time, and I was thinking, God, he's the manager, and he's the best player in this training position.
Well, did you like that? Did you like your manager coming? Did you like the fact the manager would come in and show you up?
I I was a kid, so I didn't care. I was just in awe at the fact that he was coming to training and was better than the senior players. Like you're playing with Teddy Sheringham and Jamie Redknapp and all these guys, Les Ferdinand and Glenn Hoddle was training, and he was better than these guys. And I was going, oh my God, this is the manager, and he's technically better than all these players. He couldn't run the same as them, but he was better than them.
He
was I was just blown away.
Because the whole suggestion was that some of the other players, maybe the older players, might have taken too kindly to that.
No. Oh no, they didn't at all. They hated it, and like I said, he used to take free kicks after training and be showing them up. But like it was, it wasn't enjoyable for those players because they were big names. For me, it was totally different. I was just in awe of the fact that this guy was able to do this, and I was a young lad coming through, so it didn't affect me. But for the senior players, when he was stepping into training and being better than them and probably making them not feel too good about themselves, it didn't go down too well. Actually, him and Ben Thatcher always had to play in the same team because Thatcher would try and smash him.
Because then Roy Keane did something similar at Sunderland. He went in goals at one point. I don't think Craig Gordon took too well in it. Roy Keane decided to I'll go in here and let's see who can have a shot at me. I'm thinking this definitely isn't quite from the manual of man management sort of masterclass here.
I guess you do have to divorce it. Like I was thinking of that for Stephen O'Donnell. He was reputedly, when he trained for Dundalk this season, he was still as good as any of them or better than them. And like with that Pats team, does he go in and join in, or I assume you have to have some degree of separation at this
stage.
Robbie
now. You see Robbie Keane is very much involved in the Irish training session still. And
he's involved in Middlesbrough's.
I think there might have been the odd social media clip, but just particularly in Ireland, like even before games, before the game in Georgia, he was doing the boxes with the subs before the game. When Terry Connor was off with the first team. Yeah.
I think you can get away with as assistant. I think the assistant you can get away with because you're the kind of link between the manager. The manager should be a bit more aloof and less connected to the players in a way, because he has to be able to discipline them and say no or you're not playing, so he can't be all buddy with them. Whereas the assistant can be friendly with them because at the end of the day, it's probably the manager's choice that makes the decision. So he can be the link and he can be jovial and join in and have a bit of crack. And I think you get away with it. When you become manager, though, I think you need to step away from it because you don't want to be mixing. You don't want them to be your friends because at some point you might have to drop these lads. You might have to disappoint them. You might have to give out to them. You have to have a certain way about you that they respect your decisions and then they don't treat you as a mate, and that's a hard thing to come across, especially if you've just retired. You still want to be involved in that sense, and that's hard.
Just one thing, sorry Nathan, on that as well. It's as much of it is talent, a lot of it is like how much you actually work at it. And the one thing that shined through Diego was that as a kid he was just constantly with the football. And we spoke to Danny Mandroyo during the week, and he was on about Troy Parrott, and he said just after training he's always trying to improve his technique with his in front of goal and just on the ball in general. And if you have the application, I think as much as talent's important, and I'm not sure if enough kids nowadays actually play with the football at home. And Johnny McDonnell brought up the point where he was talking to the Belvo under-15s and he asked how many of them had a football at home, and half of them didn't. And I thought that was very interesting because I think the likes of Parrott and obviously Jack Byrne and Wezzo, they were street footballers, and I think that really stood to them.
Yeah, that's a mad stat. I mean, I spoke with Paddy McCourt recently, did a piece of Paddy McCourt, and people think of Paddy McCourt and the word they always use is natural talent. He's one of the most naturally talented players you'd ever see. But his argument would be, well, no, that dribbling ability, maybe his talent was he picked it up quicker than other people. He had the aptitude that he could somehow, an element of it came naturally, but that came from hours upon hours upon hours of practice. I mean, listen, Stephen's listening, he knows the dedication he went through to get to where he did in his career. And sometimes there's people who can make it look easy, but they make it look easy because they've honed that skill over such a long period of time that it just happens quicker for them than it does for others.
I always remember saying, a coach said to me when I was a kid, and that whole thing, practice makes perfect. And a coach used to say to me, Stephen, no one's perfect, but practice makes permanent. So you will do stuff and it'll just become natural and you do it all the time. So it'll be a permanent fixture of your career. And that stuck with me from when I was about 8 or 9. I was like, oh, that's a really good thing to remember. So the more you do it, it just becomes, it's natural in you then. It becomes part of you. And I always thought that was a good thing to work on and strive towards.
Especially at a young age as well. As young as you can start, I wonder, how young is too young, but you should be playing football really at 6-7 years of age and just trying to constantly develop your first touch. To me, that's how it should be done. Anyway.
Out by yourself, as I keep trying to tell my 6-year-old, who, as I'm walking out the door to work, is, come on, play football with me. I was like, I'm going to work. I was like, just go out and play by yourself. No, I can't play football by myself. I'm like, just kick it up against the ball for 2 hours.
You're a bad father.
Leave everybody alone.
You're a bad father.
Give us a break here.
Yeah.
That's my 6-year-old as well. Come on, Dad, let's play. Then you go out and you hammer them just to give them a lesson.
Nathan, what do you do?
Unfortunately, I'm not at that level. There's a very quick turning point where between 6 and 7 where they can properly hurt you. A good kick in the ankles can do serious damage.
Yeah, if people are going, isn't it nice he let him win? It's like, no, he didn't actually let him win.
Isn't it nice he let Daddy win?
The other problem, and this isn't probably as much of a problem for Stephen as it is for me, is that you get lulled into a false sense of security by playing against your children. So I go out into the green quite a lot and I'll play with my kids and a few of the kids around, and obviously I'm doing all the little tricks and the turns.
Obviously,
and I'm a genius out there. But then you go play 5-a-side against adults, and it turns out it's not quite as easy.
Adults, 6-year-olds.
I know, Johnny. Who would have known? Just before we leave this, and you mentioned Bergkamp and marking Bergkamp and going up against them. Was he somebody that for 90 minutes of a game was incredibly difficult to play against? Or would he switch off and would he turn it on at certain times? What type of player was he when you're up against them?
No, you had to stay with him because you knew if they fed the ball into him, he was technically so good that he could cause a problem with you. So even if he wasn't sprinting around or making amazing movements, you knew that if they could find the ball to him. Unfortunately, then Arsenal had very good midfield and very good team, so they got the ball to him quite a lot. So you knew for a fact that if you weren't concentrating with him 100% for 90 minutes, that he would hurt you because his touch was so good, his awareness was so good, his ability to find players when they're running off the ball, and even his movement was excellent. And again, his strength and physicality, he had the lot, really. He was an exceptionally talented footballer.
Let's get a couple of updates from the Premier League to the London Stadium. West Ham against Sheffield United. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 1, Sheffield United 0. If we had a cagey first half, it's pretty end-to-end stuff in this second. With Sheffield United desperate for an equaliser, they can't load the defence as they did in the first half. So at the moment, we've seen Baldock with a great opportunity for the Blades, but the keeper and Cresswell just about keeping it out. But West Ham looking dangerous on the break. Felipe Anderson with a wonderful double chance, couldn't take either of them. West Ham 1, Sheffield United 0.
Yeah, Callum Robinson gone off in that game for Sheffield United. Next to Vicarage Road, Watford against Bournemouth. Andrew Cheal.
Watford 0, Bournemouth 0. Watford looking dangerous on the break since the interval, particularly through the speed of Pereira and Deulofeu. Deulofeu put in a really good mazy run, slaloming inside and outside a couple of defenders, creating space to shoot with his left foot. Goalkeeper Ramsdale got his angles absolutely right and saved with his legs. We've had a change of official. The Darren Cann is off injured, the linesman. He's been replaced by the fourth official, and Cann is now sitting comfortably in the fourth official's spot. It's now still Watford 0, Bournemouth 0.
And to the Amex, where it is Brighton against Everton. Alan Lewis.
Brighton 1, Everton 1. Webster's own goal cancelling out Grosh's free kick for Brighton in the first half. Couple of chances since the break. Stephen Alzate on the left-hand side, cutting in on his right foot, but shooting over the bar. And at the other end, Alex Iwobi's pile driver straight into the arms of Matt Ryan. Brighton 1, Everton 1.
So they're the latest scores in the Premier League. Earlier, Manchester City moved within 3 points of Liverpool with a 3-0 win against Aston Villa. Burnley-Chelsea is the late game in the Championship. It finished scoreless between Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds United. Birmingham are 1-0 up against Luton. Huddersfield 2-0 up against Barnsley. It's Millwall 1, Stoke 0. Nottingham Forest against Reading was postponed. Preston 1, Blackburn 2, and West Brom are 1-0 up against Charlton. West Brom are the league leaders. We have a lot of texts coming in.
I should mention one from Galway as well, by Kevin Brett. He said, Kevin Brett is one of our loyal volunteers for Maroon View, the First Division Programme of the Year for 2018.
I always like Johnny's shout-outs, but I mean, can we just get to them?
Kevin Brett, if you could sign one of the four at the prime ability for 3 seasons with Galway United FC to guarantee promotion and Champions League, who would he want? Any of them? Any of the four? Yeah.
I thought though there was money coming in from the Middle East, Johnny, that was going to guarantee this sort of investment.
Then it fell through. But who needs the Middle East when you've been from Glenamaddy? Comer brothers.
I'll take your word for it.
I dare I say, Nathan, and I'm sure your father has relayed it. there's a lot of optimism in the West at the moment for next season.
So I hear in a big game Monday night that apparently I'm going to.
Yeah, so we're gonna. Yeah, so your wife thought you were going out for dinner, but instead you're going to Eamon DC Park for an under-19 game against Watford. So effectively,
what is this? Is it the
it's
cup
the
final?
under-19 cup final, and
Okay.
in fairness, they've beaten Bows and Rovers en route. So I'm not sure. Rovers and Bows, I presume they're missing some of their 19s players like Tom Moan would if Stephen Kenny had them or whatever. But effectively, I'm pretty sure they're guaranteed European football next season if they win.
Yeah.
And they're playing Watford, who are seemingly a very highly rated side as well.
Yeah, I saw Paul Little tweeting and saying who was the best player you've seen play in the League of Ireland, which brings up like Paddy McCourt,
a lot of Mavericks,
Wes Houlihan, Joey and Doe. You go back, Liam Coyle, Tony Sheridan. Like there's so many. There's actually been an array of. Like sometimes you end up at different stages of the career. You have the genius players who maybe shouldn't be there.
John Giles.
Well, you go back further in time. I mean, Roy Keane played in the League of Ireland, Paul McGrath played in the League of Ireland, but like in terms of sheer entertainment value, like someone like Paddy McCourt in full flight against sort of inferior players, there was just such a great buzz going to watch him play. And like a young Wezzo was brilliant. Like a young Wes Houlihan was just. Like there was a couple of games where he would sort of torment people, and you're thinking this is something a bit special. But Paddy McCourt for me was just like Joey and Doe played a couple of World Cups, and
in those days as well, particularly like the Sheridan, Liam Coyle days, the football was winter football and it was pretty hard to watch. So if you went to one of those teams playing like Shells or Derry in this case, the hope was that the 10 quid or whatever you paid in, the 12 quid might just rest on some piece of magic that he might produce, be that Sherrow or Liam Coyle. And I saw Liam Coyle scoring a goal in Galway in Terrylands where I think Derry won 3-2, but we practically scored the other end of the pitch. Derry broke. Liam Coyle at this stage could not move. And he beat 3 players purely with footballing ability, curled it into the top corner outside the box, and everyone just started clapping. It was just like, we're... And if his career hadn't been kind of derailed so much by his injury, I think he would have been like a really, really good player in Britain.
Oh, he would have been a top player. Yeah.
John and Eden Derry, Paddy McCourt, Stephen O'Donnell, Pat Byrne.
Pat Byrne
before our time.
Yeah, last player I think to play in a competitive game
for Ireland.
Yeah,
from the League of Ireland
in a competitive match. Yeah, that's the one that Jack Byrne is trying to emulate. Yeah.
A good indicator of how great Pelé was that the senior players of a great Brazil team in 1958 had a revolt having put in the team as a 17-year-old, got injured in 62 and was basically assaulted out of the tournament in 66, and yet the best in the world again at 31-32 at the 1970 World Cup. In comparison, Maradona had feuds with players and demanded they be left out of the Argentina squad, got punished for ill discipline at different World Cups, and fair enough, had one exceptional World Cup with a solid team around him. The pity with these comparisons, though, is that they always focus on forwards.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Like, so if you look at some of the Milan players of that brilliant back four, Maldini, even look at Van Dijk nowadays, or these players. Paul McGrath was one of the best defenders I've ever seen. Stephen O'Donnell would always point out though, like they're only playing defence because basically they can't play where it really matters. So it's like,
is that what he says in the Pat's dressing room?
No, but he's like, I remember like we had this debate. I was like, who's the most talented?
That'd be a great Brian Clough line for Stephen O'Donnell.
We had it like, who's the most talented Derry man? It was like McLean, McElhenney, or Duffy, and like his argument would be, well, it's not Duffy because Duffy's playing centre back, and it's a lot easier to play that position. But we've had a goal.
We have an equaliser for Sheffield United. Is it Lim Mousset, the substitute who came on in place of Callum Robinson, I think, who got that goal?
They deserved it. They've, in terms of the volume.
In terms of bizarre situations today, so I mentioned that Manchester City won 3-0 and that there had been a little bit of controversy around the second goal. So the second goal was scored by Kevin De Bruyne, and at this stage it was pretty much end to end. Aston Villa actually did quite well in the game, while City obviously had far more chances. So De Bruyne is out on the left hand side. It's an in swinger. Can't remember, was it a free kick or was it from open play? It might have been from a free kick. And David Silva runs across. He's in an offside position, but it's incredibly tight to decide whether or not he touches the ball. Goes to VAR. They decide he didn't touch the ball, so therefore isn't offside, and the goal is given to Kevin De Bruyne. But the Premier League have come out and said that they've decided to award the goal to David Silva because he did touch the ball, and the goals committee and the VAR people are two separate entities and they don't have to get along.
So the VAR said he didn't actually impact on things at all. That's just complete nonsense then.
It is a complete nonsense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Villa feel like they've been hard done by on the VAR sense. They seem to feel they have it in for them. They seem to have lost quite a few points this season from it. Controversies.
74, 78. Surely Zizou has to be in there.
Yeah.
Zidane would be right up there for me.
Anyone who has a movie made and Mogwai do the soundtrack and it's just him for 90 minutes of a game.
Of a very average game, it turned out.
He gets sent off and it's still an amazing movie. Yeah.
Okay, we need to take a break, but the latest scores in the Premier League: Brighton 1, Everton 1, Watford 0, Bournemouth 0, and it's 1-1 between West Ham and Sheffield United. Now, OTB Productions have recently shot a couple of brilliant pieces in association with Horse Sport Ireland ahead of next year's Olympic Games in Tokyo. The first of these, with Team Ireland representative Heike Holstein, has been released this morning across all of our social channels, and we have a brief clip here for you where Heike talks about the decision all female athletes face when choosing to start a family.
Well, I think that's the difficulty a lot of women in sport have. You know, the clock is ticking and you want to have children, but when you're, I presume when you're an athlete or other people, but when you're riding, you're not going to ride while you're heavily pregnant and you can't ride straight afterwards. So you have to take time out, so you have to factor that time into it. And that is a decision that unfortunately you have to take at some point. So I took it then, after 2004, and so I had Jake in 2006 and Archie in 2009. The main challenge is time, because you don't want to feel guilty about not being there for your kids, and the horses need to be worked and schooled so that they perform.
Good chat again, lads. This radio thing eventually, Stephen Kelly even understands what happens. One of these days, I won't lie, it's going to go horribly wrong.
You're not here, Stephen. You know, it's easy to laugh.
And one of you's going to get fired.
No.
I'm watching going, this is hilarious, just let them talk.
Dear God.
Look at him there.
Meanwhile,
anyways, that's well worth checking out on offtheball.com.
Johnny is aggressively unwrapping a Kit Kat there, so let's just move along past this.
Here's a League of Ireland Galway United great for Johnny, Frank Worthington.
Oh, yeah.
I only know the name, but Ski McGee, I suppose, would come to mind.
But Frank Worthington, like, that was the era where you had the great, like, Bobby Charlton dropped in for a couple of games. Like this, you know, George Best came in, like Gordon Banks came and played a game for Pats. This was the time where, you know, the clubs would cobble a few quid together.
And get a big gate.
Because Frank Worthington was a complete character.
Yeah.
You know, an absolute... he would have enjoyed the social life.
I would have liked to have seen Eamon Deasy play, because when they changed the name of the ground to Eamon Deasy Park, I suppose since I was a kid, Terryland Park kind of meant a lot to me as always, like, that's synonymous with Galway United. So I you know, sometimes ground change, the change of a name of the ground, you're kind of like, do they need to do that? But then the more people I spoke to about Eamon Deasy, like, he played for Villa, like, played at the top level, an absolute warrior on the pitch, like a kind of a Richard Dunn type figure maybe, who just gave everything, and then came back and played for Galway United for nothing when they didn't have any money, despite his ability, and he was passed away very, very young, and he sounded like an absolute legend. And so it was one of the players I would have loved to have seen play.
It's a very typical Saturday afternoon, I think, on Off the Ball, where we started by talking about the greatest players of all time, and we've got down to Galway United's greatest ever player.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens with Johnny. I mean, Chick Deasy had an amazing career though as well. I think he went to Villa when there was like only 14 players in a squad. You know, there was like 14, 15 players in the first team squad, and he was on the premises. But Johnny, Johnny, we've only had 3 to 4 Galway references this hour.
Yeah,
and we're only at half 4.
Pretty sure
we've got to take a break.
Got his move to England by just persistently writing letters to one or two clubs, just saying, "Give me a trial, give me a trial, give me a trial," and eventually they did.
Still 1-1 then between West Ham and Sheffield United. West Ham very much on top though after Sheffield United got that equaliser. 1-1 between Brighton and Everton, and scoreless between Watford and Bournemouth. Back in a moment.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Exciting afternoons with Harvey Norman. Bring the cinema home with an ultra-high-definition smart TV and surround sound from Harvey Norman. The cinema experience with no queues and no trailers.
Go, Harvey, go!
We all want to change our planet for the better. That's why, with the Volkswagen Climate Action Grant, if you're driving a Euro 1 to 4 standard emissions car, you could get up to €5,000 off a new Volkswagen. Choose a new plug-in hybrid, fully electric, petrol or efficient diesel model, and we'll take your old car off our roads. Our Climate Action Grant means that driving a new Volkswagen is easier on your pocket and on our planet.
Find out if your car qualifies. Search Volkswagen Climate Action Grant. Terms and conditions apply.
So you've got my watch, my hat, my coat and my favourite rugby shirt. Let's call it even.
But sir, it's free!
What?
Your PRSI contribution entitles you to a free eye test at Specsavers and glasses from our €69 range.
I'd better put my clothes back on.
Like any dog worth the salt, I pride myself on being able to find anything. Chewed slippers, furry toys, buried bones, you name it. But this lot have surprised me. They went looking for the lowest AA car insurance price available, and you know where they found it? Online. Sure, that's the first place I'd have looked. After I checked the fridge, of course.
If you want the lowest AA car insurance price available, you'll find it online. Go to the AA.ie. Who's got clever car insurance? Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. AA Ireland Limited trading as AA Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Cash free, hassle free. Where'd I put the ticket again? Free. Parking in Dundrum is breezy with an easy trip toll tag. Your account gets charged automatically. No messing about with cash. Just cruise in and out like royalty and focus on the important stuff. Shopping. To park like a VIP, sign up at easytrip.ie. We heart in real life. Dundrum Town Centre.
Last month, the Barretts saved €345 at Lidl. Their shop last week included our new plant-to-plate vegan burgers for just $2.99. In fact, we've got loads of new vegan products. And no, it's not a fad. Start your big save at Lidl.ie. Lidl, more for you. The Barrett shop between September 10th and October 14th and received a gratuity for participation.
Vaccines are your best shot against pneumococcal disease. Pneumococcal disease, or pneumo, is easily spread by coughing or sneezing, and for most it causes mild symptoms. However, some of these infections can make people very sick. Invasive pneumococcal disease is a very serious illness. Of those who develop an invasive infection, 1 in 4 will develop pneumonia, 1 in 4 will develop meningitis, and 1 in 10 will die. The pneumo vaccine is free through the National Immunisation Programme. If you're over 65 or in an identified at-risk group, such as someone with asthma, diabetes or heart disease, talk to your doctor today about pneumo or visit pneumo.ie. Brought to you by MSD, supported by the Asthma Society of Ireland, Diabetes Ireland and CRE.
Fancy scoring free tickets to an incredible UEFA Champions League experience with Pepsi Max? Then show us your skills. Pepsi Max has 20 pairs up for grabs, and to be in with a chance to win, just pick up a Pepsi Max UEFA Champions League promotional pack in store. To enter, just post a video or pic of your best football trick with your promotional pack and share it on Pepsi Max Facebook or Instagram with hashtag For the Love of It. See pepsimax.ie for details. Pepsi Max, maximum taste, no sugar.
Hurry, the clock is ticking on the Harvey Norman 16th birthday sale. That's right, it's the final weekend and your last chance to save with final reductions in-store and online across Ireland's largest range of appliances, technology and interiors. Get up to 25% off washing machines, up to €400 off laptops, up to 50% off dining furniture, up to 50% off all our dearest mattresses, and we're matching all competitors' bank holiday weekend sale prices. But hurry, the Harvey Norman 16th birthday sale must end this Monday.
Go!
What would you expect from the new Volkswagen Passat? An elegant dynamic exterior and spacious interior? Advanced driver assistance systems for easier, safer driving? A plug-in hybrid option for a cleaner, greener drive? Expect all that and more, so you can be more and do more. The new Volkswagen Passat. What did you expect? Search Volkswagen Passat.
The B&Q 3 for 2 offer is now on, including an unmissable 3 for 2 on tiles and flooring, like real wood and laminate. So hurry to B&Q. You can do it when you 3 for 2 it. Excludes cut-to-measure flooring, flooring accessories and underlay. Every third item per single transaction in descending price order free. Offer ends November 3rd. See DIY.com.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Welcome back to Off the Ball. Let's go straight to the Amex. Goal between Brighton and Everton. Alan Lewis.
It's Brighton 1, Everton 2, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin on as a second half substitution has maybe just won this game for Everton. A ball played through, he's cool, calm finish, left-footed under the goalkeeper. Brighton 1, Everton 2.
So Everton have come from behind to lead that game. Aaron Connolly still on the pitch. for Brighton as they try and force their way back. There's 13 minutes left there. It's still 1-1 between West Ham and Sheffield United. Lim Musak come off the bench in place of Callum Robinson and equalised for Sheffield United. But in the 7-8 minutes since that goal, it has been all West Ham, and they were inches away from scoring there through Robert Snodgrass, but it remains 1-1 while it's scoreless between Watford and Bournemouth. Burnley-Chelsea is the late game in the Championship.
Goldrick just gone off there after his 80 minutes work.
Looks okay. Not hobbling or anything, is he?
Seems to have very good first half anyway.
Walking at normal speed.
Okay. West Brom, who are the Championship leaders, 1-1 in their game against Charlton. Preston have come from 2-0 down to draw level at 2-2 at home against Blackburn. Forest Reading was called off because of a waterlogged pitch. Millwall 2-0 up in their game against Stoke. Jason Malumbi again playing the middle of midfield for Millwall. Middlesbrough 0, Fulham 0. It's 1-0 to Hull against Derby. Huddersfield are 2-0 up against Barnsley. 1-1 between Birmingham and Luton, and it finished scoreless earlier between Leeds United and Sheffield Wednesday, both of whom had a chance to go top of the table in that game. Stephen Kelly is still on the line. We've had an enormous reaction. Because it went off on so many tangents, we literally have a million texts on every club's best player of all time.
And we will read them all out.
For example, Suarez 13-14 for Liverpool should have got the Ballon d'Or. Unplayable that year. Next week we will do the most unplayable player for one season.
But in fairness, by talking about the best player that people have seen as well, like I saw we got a tweet there about someone who saw Robert Projanecki in his prime as well. Actually playing against Ireland once or twice. I think that was the tweet. I don't have it.
I would put Suarez in my top 10 of. He's top 5 probably of seeing live. And I remember covering Liverpool a lot that season, and you knew every day going he was going to be brilliant and would absolutely terrorise the defence he was playing against. And so that's next week though. Best player you've seen live.
Any more text there? Go on. Any other?
Ronaldo, lads. The real Ronaldo has to be number 1, says Connor. Surely John Giles is right up there in the top 4 of all time, says Keane. John and Johnny, how'd it go on Thursday?
Yeah, he
fine.
He's a gentleman, John. Yeah, it was an honour to interview him.
All right, we'll talk about that with John Giles.
He is a proper legend, to be fair.
If there was a 9-0 in the League of Ireland, you'd be saying it was embarrassing. So in a concerned tone, I asked, what does last night's result say about the Premier League?
I saw that comment, yeah. Some people said UCD should have been kicked out of the league after they lost 9-0. So Southampton should be out the gap now. It isn't at home. They've no place in
excommunicated because they've lost.
They're done. They're out of there.
Lads, Mick McCarthy is an old school, Rose-Ed, safety first, thump it up the park, ex-centre half. No matter how many coaching courses completed, that style of play is in his DNA. Same goes for many of his underage coaches at clubs around the country. They never play technical creative football, therefore by default neither will their teams. A few underage national teams manage to buck the trend, only to have to revert if they break into the senior team. And their lads is the source of all that's wrong with the Irish game, says Martin in Galway.
Well, yeah, the choice of McCarthy was quite a conservative choice. They could have gone for Kenny and they didn't. And I've spoken to a fair few people within the game here who would think that they should have gone for a braver choice. That Mick is, what age is Mick now?
He's 60.
60, and he's a fair, he is what he is, I guess. He wasn't going to transform us, but Dan, I remember Dan making this point before, that do you give up a campaign with the view to the longer term, where you say we're going to just kind of play a style here that's going to take a lot longer than one campaign, because that's probably one of the problems for Stephen Kenny, that he doesn't have that long to change our philosophy, because to Martin O'Neill, to Mick McCarthy, it hasn't actually changed that much.
They were never going to they were never going to write off this campaign, because this is the most important campaign. I mean,
we're a chance of playing a game at home.
Yeah, and having been at the FAI press conference yesterday, where they're now openly admitting that the accounts that come out in a month's time are not going to be pretty.
Yeah, talk to us about that,
they're
because
going to shock people.
That word. So this wasn't in the broadcast section. This was
the daily
daily newspapers. The use of the word "will shock people" is worrying, because was that said in normal times, this will shock people, or was this in a current times where nothing can shock us, yet still we're going to be shocked by this?
Yeah, no, I actually asked the question now. Like, Paul Cook was there, who's the vice president, but Paul Cook is a sort of a qualified chartered accountant, a newspaper executive, and he would have a sort of fairly I suppose jovial style, in terms of he wouldn't necessarily be sort of been a very deliberate, sort of monotone answer, is more expressive in terms of his answer. But I mean, he did say, you know, I think I just asked casually about like what are the accounts going to be like, and the word was used that they are going to shock people. You know, that things are not. I think Donald Conway was given the chance to say, are the worst days behind the FAI now? And you know, it was very much like it was a set up question for someone to say, yes, the worst days are behind us. And,
how can they be?
And no, the suggestion is that these reports that are coming are going to present more issues, but it is the accounts, and it came out. There's a Revenue Commissioner's probe as well, which we don't know too much about it beyond just that it's going to, you know, that this is another probe to add it to the list. But this was Paul Cook's. I was just trying to get it up here. I'll tell you one thing on the record. You know, they won't be pretty. This is the accounts. Will they shock people? I think they will. I think there will be a shock. Yes. I think I'm not going to confirm any figure or anything like that, but they're not pretty. And you know, they are in a situation where over the last 8 to 9 years we've had the accounts, and we have been told that everything is rosy, and basically we are now going to be told that wasn't really the case, and that's a pretty hard one to take. So I know we've gone off on a bit tangent here from qualifying for Euro 2020, but like this is the point that the relevant people will tell you that they have not budgeted for qualification, and I'm sure that's true, but they could bloody well do with it, you know, because that sort of, there's a potential worth 10, 11 million quid, and
well, it sounds as though
sponsorship bonuses and whatnot.
Because obviously every 2-4 years this conversation comes up about what it's worth to the FAI, and it always felt that qualification was this huge bonus that would allow the FAI to do things they wouldn't otherwise be able to do, whereas not qualifying meant we just have to be a bit more prudent, but everything will be fine anyways. Yeah. Whereas now we're in a situation where, like, it sounds as though even if they qualify,
it still won't.
It still won't fix an awful lot of things.
No, absolutely not. I mean, there was a good amount of money earned from Euro 2016, but when you actually sorted out bonuses, and you know, like managers will have contracts with bonuses, players will have a player pool done for bonuses, and that should be the case. That's part of the contracts or deals that are agreed. But when you go through that, and then you go through, you know, servicing debt needs, it didn't really make any imprint at all. I think they cleared something around 4 million at the end of it, but that is just going into running costs and operating costs, and so it's not going to save the day. Like, ultimately UEFA are financing Irish football now anyway, so it's a means of getting prize money from UEFA as opposed to bailout money that's an advance on money you're going to get in the future. It's not good. The accounts are going to be grim.
When are they out?
The hope is that the AGM was adjourned, and it's going to be resumed with these accounts. It's going to be end of November, early December.
Well, clearly, senior officials within the FAI are very much aware of what's coming down the track.
They're trying to. I think they're trying to brace people for. I think they're always get people prepared so that shock value isn't there on the day. I think, you know, we've had times in the past where we would have been told in this type of gathering there's going to be a surplus recorded this year, and like a surplus. You know, people with accounting expertise will point out, you know, there's obviously various ways of presenting or you know, honing in on a particular ledger entry or figure and say, well, this one shows that things are well. Meanwhile, other sort of liabilities and things are stacking up. And this is the problem that's facing everyone in the game here. And like, for example, like someone like Stephen Kenny, I think there's a broad acceptance that yes, it's going to be a slightly different type of appointment, and he would probably need time. But if things like start off badly, and there's a suggestion that this might impact upon ticket sales, and it might impact upon, like, there will be pressures that will come on to people. Like people who do the accounts, and you know, the people who are engaged with that will sort of look at the equation and go, and it's the same. I mean, this is the thing now.
Don't see how
with every manager.
I totally get what you're saying. I just don't see how those conversations can happen with Stephen Kenny.
I don't think
considering
they should.
Everything that has happened over the last 4 or 5 years is attendances have dropped.
Yeah.
Like the interest levels around the games at senior level have dropped because the success hasn't been there, because the style of football has been poor. Like, it's already bad.
No, I don't think that should happen, but I'm just saying that it probably will happen if things are particularly, like if the transition is particularly slow, and like, you know, you have a couple of things. Now, I've a funny feeling he might actually start off okay, but at the same time, it's just this concept of like like the senior team is the main generator of revenue for the FAI. This is a problem. This is a massive problem for development, that this is the main source of revenue. So the performances of the senior team do have a big impact on the finances of the association. So you can't divorce yourself from that reality, as much as that should not be the business plan and the business structure.
A huge sympathy though for clubs who, like, I think St Francis were looking for a grant for their AstroTurf pitch that they'd more or less been promised. That all fell through. There are clubs all over the country who, you know, probably, I know actually Go United had an issue as well, where they had that new development that the Corners helped out with. John Delaney's kind of demise, that really didn't help in that regard. They've all these clubs that.
Yeah, but there's also been a stop to government funding, so
that as well.
Well, obviously all this is linked in, but we don't know quite yet.
No,
it's case-by-case examples can sort of...
It's certain that Irish football certainly deserves an apology, because we were told something that wasn't true, that the finances were... Like, there's an awful lot of damage there at proper grassroots level all over Ireland. We've a League of Ireland that's been, like, left completely impoverished, and people are owed an apology by at least one individual for what's happened.
But there's another side to this that is probably going to come out over the next few months, which are the staff out in Abbottstown. And to their credit, and maybe legally they can't, have generally kept very quiet during all this, because without question, when you hear that sort of language, there's going to have to be huge cuts within the FAI, and there's people's livelihoods at stake. And like, this is, maybe I'm way off the mark here, Stephen, but there's going to be a pressure on the senior team from within the FAI. Like, maybe people won't say it publicly, but people's jobs now are directly going to be linked to the success of the senior international team, which is, as a player, I'd imagine, probably not the sort of pressure you want.
No, well, it's like club football. When a team gets relegated, there's cutbacks and teams have effects because of the performance levels of the senior team. And when you go into a club and you've been relegated, sometimes you can see around the place that the staff, they might have a friend that's been let go in a certain area, and they think that's down to the fact of your performance levels or the way you played. So that can have a run-on effect. And you never see it in international football because they're quite separate, but the way things are happening now, and with if all this is going to come out and there's going to be, you know, hell to pay basically, then there's going to be an added pressure on the players to perform based on the fact that there's jobs, people's livelihood at stake.
And for better news, Aaron Connolly's been taken down for a penalty, and his good form continues, which means his assists and goals rate have gone through the roof.
Let's go to the Amex. Brighton against Everton. Alan Lewis.
Brighton 2, Everton 2, and a really controversial goal at that. It's come from the penalty spot, Neil Maupay with the goal, but the award was given by VAR. Connolly adjudged to have been fouled by Michael Keane, and looking at the replays, it's very, very soft. Maupay did well after such a long wait to dispatch the penalty. I tell you what, the Everton boss isn't going to be happy with this one. Brighton 2, Everton 2.
Listen, if he touched them, he was entitled to go down.
Soft, Johnny. What about soft Galway? Soft, you know.
There's one thing the boy Connolly isn't, and that's soft.
All right, so Brighton 2, Everton 2, West Ham 1, Sheffield United 1, and Watford 0, Bournemouth 0. All those games just ticking into injury time. We'll take a very quick break.
Get with the programme. Update the News Talk app now in the App Store or Google Play Store.
Have you thought about life after college? The Aldi Graduate Area Manager Programme is the perfect way to kickstart your career. At Aldi, we put bright, energetic graduates like you on the path to success. You'll have the chance to run a multi-million-euro business after only 12 months. And you'll be presented with new challenges and new opportunities every day. Apply now at aldirecruitment.ie. Closing date for applications is November 30th, 2019. Aldi, every day amazing.
In the Irish Times weekend. As the Dublin Marathon marks its 40th anniversary, we look at how running in Ireland went from niche interest to mass activity. From lewd comments to groping and grabbing, we lift the lid on Irish restaurants where sexual harassment is a given. And Patrick Frayne talks to the Rubber Bandits blind boy about life, fiction and everything in between. The Irish Times weekend, your weekend's in good hands.
What to eat, who to love, where to go. We get so many answers online. But the answers to some questions can only be found on the open road. For instance, just how good is it to drive an award-winning SUV like the Peugeot 2008, 3008 or 5008? Find out during the Peugeot Drive Time event now on at your nearest Peugeot dealer. Ask about flexible payment options and our 5-year warranty. Never have SUVs gone so far. See Peugeot.ie for terms and conditions.
Tomorrow, it's Liverpool v Tottenham in a massive game. And with Now TV, you can watch all the action live for a one-off payment of just €10. Hold on, they're checking with VAR.
That's confirmed, it's €10.
That's the result we were looking for. So, to only pay for the games that matter to you, grab a Now TV Sky Sports Day Pass. Search Now TV Sports. 18 plus, content streamed via internet, full terms apply.
Meet Laura. Hi. She's a new Leia Healthcare concierge, here to answer your questions.
Where do penguins live?
No, not that type of question.
What's for dinner?
Or that. See, Laura is part of a friendly, clinical team. The first in Ireland for all your healthcare questions. Like,
what does my diagnosis mean?
Can you find a consultant near me?
So if you've a healthcare question, your Leia Healthcare concierge has the answer. Call us or visit leiahealthcare.ie, because it's good to live. Insurance provided by Ellipse Insurance Limited, trading as Leia Healthcare. Leia Healthcare Limited, trading as Leia Healthcare and Leia Life, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Available from renewal or purchase from 1st October 2019 on selected schemes for members over the age of 18.
Fear. I'm supposed to be flying to Canada next weekend to see my grandchildren. And I'm scared. Not scared the flight will crash. None of these so-called irrational fears. I'm scared that I won't last 8 hours without a cigarette.
What are you waiting to feel before you quit? Ireland now has more quitters than smokers, and with the right support, you're twice as likely to join them for good. Visit quit.ie today from the HSC.
You don't have heart failure. God forbid. Not you. You don't feel breathless after climbing the stairs. Ignore your swollen ankles. You don't have constant fatigue. For many, all these could mean heart failure, but not for you. Nah, you're the exception, the one that got away.
Don't ignore what could be the signs of heart failure like I did. Hi folks, Michael Leicester here. Visit knowyourheart.ie and take our symptoms checker. Brought to you by the Irish Heart Foundation, supported by Novartis.
Hurry! Morgantown's dining tables and chairs sale is in full swing. All dining tables and chairs reduced. No exceptions. See Facebook for daily offers. Morgantown's tables and chairs sale has started.
The National Concert Hall presents Swordfish Trombones Revisited, which sees the Tom Waits masterpiece interpreted by Nadine Shah, Lisa O'Neill, Dorian Wood and Matthew E. White in a remarkable performance helmed by David Coulter, October 29th at the National Concert Hall. Supported by Irish Times and Davy, Innovation Partner. Tickets from €29.50.
Start your story this Halloween at Woody's. Find scary good deals like Stanley Fatmax 18-volt drill with 2 batteries, now €129. As well as Dulux interior paint, now 3 for $2. And our largest ever range of Halloween decorations and costumes, now half price. Woody's. We're all homemakers. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
It's our biggest price cuts ever. At Super Value, we've cut hundreds of prices in our Super Value range. Like Super Value cream crackers, 200 gram, now 26 cent. Super Value sparkling water 2 litre, now 50 cent. And Super Value straight cut chips, 1.5 kg, now 99 cent. It's got to be Super Value.
Hey, who's coming to the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show?
There's expert advice and thousands of ideas to create your ideal home. The Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, ODS this weekend.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Random text of the day. Any of you ever see or play against Tony Yeboah? Did you ever play against Tony Yeboah, Dan?
I did not play against Tony Yeboah.
Did you ever play against Tony Yeboah?
I remember some of his great goals. But
Stephen, did you play against Tony Yeboah?
No.
I suspect the texter may have.
JB in KK, so JB in Kilkenny. None of us, funnily enough, played against Tony Yeboah. Kenny Cunningham did, of course. He headed him the ball for that brilliant goal.
Yes, he did. He did indeed.
We should never forget about that.
Yeah, Tony Yeboah, yeah. I mean, if you did play against him, you should... I want to hear that story.
I still think somebody's missing a trick by not doing an ad with Kenny Cunningham going through all those great goals. Oh, hold up. There's been a goal at the Amex. Brighton against Everton, Alan Lewis.
Brighton 3, Everton 2, and to rub salt into the wounds, Everton may go home from this game with absolutely nothing. Trossard down the left-hand side, put it across the face of goal, and there was Lucas Digne to put it into his own net. This coming after the most controversial of VAR penalties you're likely to see so far this season. Brighton 3, Everton 2.
Aaron Connolly was the player brought down for that controversial VAR penalty. He was then taken off straight away to be replaced by Glenn Murray, maybe to save him.
He was obviously injured from that ferocious tackle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that game still ongoing. Brighton leading by 3-2. But the full-time whistle has gone at the London Stadium. West Ham against Sheffield United. Let's hear about it. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 1, Sheffield United 1. West Ham had all the possession in the first half. Sheffield United had all the chances until Robert Snodgrass tucked home just before the break. Second half much more open, chances at both ends, but Moussé, with his third goal of the season after coming on as a substitute, levelled things up in the 68th minute. After that, West Ham hit the post through Snodgrass, saw further chances spurned. Sheffield United unbeaten on 5 in their travels. West Ham 1, Sheffield United 1.
It's all over at Vicarage Road as well between Watford and Bournemouth. Andrew Cheel.
Watford 0, Bournemouth 0. If either side was going to win, it would have been Watford. They had the 3 best chances. Steve Cook's header came back off the bar, and Foster made excellent saves to deny Rico and Danjuma. Watford badly missed the injured Welbeck and Troy Deeney. They did put a bit of pressure on late on in the game, but Bournemouth's defence was clearly under orders to keep calm and carry on. Did just that, and it finished Watford 0, Bournemouth 0.
In the Championship, Preston have come from 2-0 down to beat Blackburn Rovers by 3-2. Quite a turnaround there. The leaders, West Brom, 2-2 in the final moments of their game against Charlton. It's still going on at the Amex. Brighton 3-2 up against Everton. Tomorrow on Off the Ball, we've 2 live Premier League commentaries. Dave McIntyre and Brian Kerr will be at Newcastle against Wolves from 2 o'clock. And then myself and David Myler will be at Anfield for Liverpool against Tottenham. Stephen, generally this has been a cracking game. Liverpool, there's been a lot of goals, I think, in injury time in the last couple of games between these two at Anfield. Spurs, do you give them any chance considering recent form?
Not really. Away from home, you kind of don't fancy. The bit of shining light, I suppose, was the performance in the Champions League. Scoring 5 goals would definitely have boosted their confidence to be feeling better than what they have done. And the talks around the stadium and the ground is that the players are fully behind the manager and they're trying to create that cohesion that they had before. So maybe they're on the upturn and they can put in a good performance. They have the players to cause Liverpool problems and they can get goals. So it makes for a great fixture. But the way Liverpool are playing, and they're just so consistent, even when they're not playing well, they get results. So you can't see this really going any other way than Liverpool coming out with winners.
Also tomorrow on Off the Ball from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we have episode 4, the final one in the series of OTB Presents The Classic. And this is A New Dawn in Dublin. It's by Owen Brennan. And it is about that famous time when there was talk of Wimbledon coming to Dublin.
God. We were very young, energised League of Ireland fans at that time, very much against the move.
Should be a good show, all right. I actually see Josh Cullen got that goal for Charlton against West Brom in the 95th minute penalty, I think it is. So
that means it is 2-2 in that game.
It should be good though, that show. Sorry.
Should be. So that's on from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And it's gone, the full-time whistle at the Amex. Brighton have beaten Everton by 3-2. A huge win for Brighton and a disaster for Everton, whose struggles away from home continue. They're just 2 points outside the relegation zone. Stephen, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks, lads. Thanks very much.
Johnny, well done.
Yeah, it's been emotional as ever. Who wins the cup, Nathan, if I'm not in next weekend?
If I'm not in.
Why won't you be here next weekend?
Why won't you be here next weekend?
We'll talk about it next Saturday.
Something might come up.
I'm definitely not here next Saturday.
Why not?
Preparing for the cup final.
Who wins the cup?
Dundalk.
Dan?
I'm definitely. I'm remotely. I'm sort of professional enough to be here next Saturday.
I should mention just before we go, Dan, I'm sure you'll want to be there because we're going to Dundalk the day after the cup final, 4th of November. We're going to be live from the venue at the Hotel Imperial in Dundalk ahead of the 4th round of the Champions League group stage featuring Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester City, previewing the games alongside Keith Andrews, Niall Quinn and Damien Delaney. They'll be talking about who they think is going to make the final in Istanbul. It's an exclusive event. It is totally sold out as well, but we'll have lots of opportunities for you to win tickets over the coming days. All right, that is us done. Offtheball.com is the place to check out everything that's happening this evening. Download the Goal Out app and you can listen in on OTB Sports Radio. We're back here on News Talk at 1 tomorrow. Tech Talk with Jace is up next.
Give him a ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass. Give him a ball and he out of space. He'll give you...
Across Ireland.